Well, well, well. Look who's first today. Hey, Pies. How's Elder Scrolls going? Or, no, not what am I talking about? Elden Ring. I don't know how that happened in my brain. I pictured the right game and just said the wrong thing. All right, we got to write a today command. Adam is going to work on Skeleseller for what, like 2 hours, I think? And then we have mentoring? I'm pretty sure it's at 11. Yeah, 11 today. And it is currently 8:40. So I think a little over 2 hours would give me enough time to prep still. Yeah, okay. For about 2 hours, then he's going to transition into doing career mentoring with Remy. Mentoring. Yeah, that's it. Auto corrected it in my head. I wonder how far I could have gone with that. Hang on one sec. My mouse every once in a while gets messed up. All right, I have replugged it in. Let's see if that works. Yep, that worked. Okay, so that's good. All right, new video. We're gonna launch this at lunch, a lunch launch. Have an obligation at 4 p.m. today. Yeah, so this is all the timing stuff. I just gotta remember to actually launch the video. And I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, well, let's get to work. This is how this goes now. Just immediately jump into productivity. So I left off with, I think, no real changes here. And where's the game itself? Yeah. So this is what we had done last time, which is just get this kind of like demo scene working for the town system. So these are customers, they've got some money, they go and buy items. When they've run out of money, they just kind of leave and a new one gets spawned in again. And you have a little skeletal worker that's going and picking up items to restock the shelves, and you can add workers and add customers. So yeah, this is the core of the item selling system. And things will look better and it'll be less chaotic, I think. Maybe not less chaotic, but yeah, so we need to still clean up some of this code. We eventually need to add in the proper graphics. These were all just placeholders for now. But I've been pretty happy with the progress so far. So yeah, let's get started. All right, add a target item display component. Make navigation system use it just for navigation, not for conditional navigation. And then make buy item use target item display component instead of target location component. Yeah, then split restock item. Pick up. I never wrote this down, did I? No, I don't think I ever wrote this down. Restock item takes in a target. Yeah, I never wrote this down. And I don't even know, do we have a target location component? Did I never do this? How is this working? Oh no. Okay, well, that's too bad. Yeah, so make restock item do the same thing. All right. Well, we have target location component. We're just going to save this as target item display component. Or maybe item storage or something. I don't know. We're not going to worry about that yet. All right, so this is target item display. And our target in this case is an item display. And reached target. Yeah, I think this is still pretty reasonable. All right, so then this just needs to change here. Cool, cool, cool. Type or namespace item display cannot be found. We need to import that. All right, there we go. So there's our thing. Now we're gonna go make buy item needs to add in, how's this gonna work? Make it use target item display component. Yeah, so this goes away. So that means that this also goes away. Maybe on enter, we remove your existing target item display component. And on exit, we remove it as well. Yeah, okay. All right, so if you don't have one of these, then we need to get one. So ECS.hasComponent. It should just be able to fill this in. It doesn't. All right, and then this is the entity. So if you don't have one, then acquire, otherwise wander. Yeah, that's fine. We need to check the target that you have though. I wonder if storing this in the class makes sense. This is where things get a little weird. I'm gonna try this, and maybe I don't end up liking how this works, but we'll say T target component. I don't know. That's fine. So there's that. Set this. This is not. Oops. That's supposed to be get component. Get component or null. And then this changes to that. Yep. Okay, so if TC equals null, then do this. Otherwise, if TC.target.hasItem, then transition to wander. All right, there, that's been converted. So now we do the same thing over here. We get a target. Well, this is really item display, I guess. All right, if there are no targets, wander around for a bit. Otherwise, make one of these. Target item display component equals new with the item display. I want to base this on global position eventually. I got to remember that. Make sure to track based on global position of the target. Add the component. Add reach target. Okay, this looks good. Now this is the only stuff that needs to change? Yeah. So I guess we do the same thing. So where do we do this? By the item. This is in reached. Yeah. If the target is null or the target doesn't have an item. So if something else removed this, nothing else could have removed this though. How did this even make sense? Hey, Zafwin. All right, I think this has to exist, but it's not a bad idea to just check here if it's null. So if TC equals null or if TC.target.hasItem. All right, then TC.target. And that's everything. All right, so if we were to run this right now, what would happen is nothing would move. Well, not nothing. The customers wouldn't move, I'm pretty sure. No, they would wander, but then they'd get stopped. Yes, that's exactly what happened. It took me a second. And that's intentional right now because I haven't actually coded this thing. So the way that this has to work is we also need to get all of the nodes that have target item displays. So here's how this will look. We get target item display. And then for each node in there, we call process entity. I guess this is going to be a little bit different. This will be like process. I don't know. Target item display component. Entity, something like this. I'm not going to be concerned about names right now. We'll figure out a better name in a sec. All right, so it's going to look pretty similar to this. And we're sure, whatever. Let's just take all that code. So we get the target, get the item display, get it based on global position, which is nice because I had that written down. Then if it's this, do that. Yep. Yeah, I think this is pretty much everything. So I think this will just work. We have to refactor the code, of course. And then this too needs to be changed. Let's go try that. If everything just works, then we can see, does the code actually look better as a result of this? And yeah, it looks like everything's working. This is pretty cool. Hey, for me is Bandersnatch. How you doing? All right, yeah. So does the code look better? Let's go take a look. This is this code. Did this end up looking better? Let's just start by looking at line count. Line count is literally exactly the same, 90 lines in each. But now the state is not tracking the target. I think this is a better way of doing things. I don't think this is the reason why we did this, though, is to clean up this one class. I think it's so that now we can have the same logic between two different states. Yeah. Why do they go to a random node first rather than straight to the shop bench? Just to prove that there are state machines. That's all. That's, well, actually not entirely just to prove it. I think that customer behavior is going to look something like this. Like wander around, maybe like look at some items, even if they don't buy. Then maybe eventually make a purchase. Then maybe wander around some more and then maybe leave the town. And the reason for this is actually kind of a game design reason. It's so that you have upgrades for customer behavior. So maybe you say something like, sharp-eyed, 50% chance to immediately move toward the item that they want. Or whatever, fast movement or something like that. Yeah, and so right now it looks kind of stupid because, yeah, they're just wandering around randomly and then like immediately go into the item. So yeah, customer behavior is not great yet, but eventually imagine something like this. Hey, Time Master. Yeah, I wonder I wonder how much of the impact of Unity's monetization decisions we're still seeing right now. Spots discounts faster. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the game design reason behind this, at least, is like, it gives you a reason to want to upgrade, and that way eventually you see your town as like a well-oiled machine, whereas it starts off as an unoiled machine. I'm pretty happy with where this is going. We're going to need to refactor the navigation system in just a second. In fact, let's just do that now. All this is really doing is it's saying take a target and pursue that. So we're going to say private void pursue target location double delta node 2D entity, and then vector to location. And I think we can probably just accept whatever code it does, right? Get the direction, check this, modify the position. What is this thing doing now? Oh, we need the reached target thing. Oh, darn it. Well, we could have this be a Boolean, I suppose. Or we could have these inherit from some interface that has a reached target on it. Target location component. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. We could make this implement an interface that has a reached target. I think that's the best way of doing this. And that way in the navigation system, we can just pass in a component and call this reach target on it no matter what. Alternatively, we could have this return a Boolean. And if it's true, then the caller checks. But yeah, I think the right way of doing this would be to have this implement an interface. I don't know how to write implements in C#. Is it just implements? It might be. No, it's just a colon and then a thing. Okay, yeah, so we need an interface at some point. All right, so let's go make this. I don't know where I should put this. Maybe in here. Also, does everything start with I when it's an interface? I can reach target. That's kind of weird. I seeks target. Yeah, something like that. Hey, Atomic Man. And thanks. All right, well, we're going to call it this for now. Again, names don't really matter too much. So this is I seeks target. The I stands for interface, which is why it sounds weird to say this instead of I seek target. Oh, does this have some like naming thing? Oh, just put it in the namespace. Hey, Glasscup. It is I seeks target. Seeks target, man. All right, and this just has one function, which is emit reach target. There we go. Now we inherit or implement this. And then I think we have to write override. Is that necessary? No, that's not override when it's an interface. Anteater, thanks for resubbing. Happy 5/6 of a year resub. Okay, so we have this, and we have one other kind of thing here. This, and they're both done. I can target. No, it's got to be it's got to be that it actually seeks out the target. Just having a target could be something like a gun shooting at an enemy or something like that. Not that there are going to be guns in this game. So it'd be like you'd have a target in the case of a gun, but you'd actually seek the target in the case of like a melee attack or something, let's say. But still, I'm not super concerned about names. I think it's okay. All right, now in this, we pass in an iSeeks target, a target seeker or target seeking component. And in here, we say that it reached a target. And now we just need to call this function. Hey, Broken Crown. Okay, so process entity. This is really going to be pursue with all of these things. Wait, this is weird. Oh, because the target in this case is that. Yeah, so let's do that and replace this with TLC. Delete all of you. That is correct, right? Yeah, that's correct. Can I change type from this to this for improved performance? Oh, interesting. Well, unfortunately, I mean, it's going to go away in a second because I'm about to call this with something else. So now this is going to be tc.target.global position. TC there. And now that goes away. And now we just need to simplify this. Target item display entity. So this should be renamed to process target location entity. Yeah, but this code is kind of the same and this code is kind of the same. Although I'm not incredibly concerned about that, I guess. One thing that is weird is now there's no real purpose in having separate functions for this stuff. I'm thinking too much about this. I think this is not important. I think what we can just do here is say process target item display entities and pass in delta. And then the same thing for target location entities. And then here's what I'll do. I'll have this just take in the delta and then do the for loop that we had here. And then just put this into this. Now we would get a node here. This is a node, I guess. And this is a node. All right, I think that looks better. Let's copy paste everything into a new file just so I don't mess everything up. So now we get rid of this and we do the same thing over here. So this is now going to be target location entities. We get the thing with the target location component. We pursue target location with tc.target. We call these node. They should already be fine. Why is this a problem? Can't convert node to node 2D. How did I do this up here? Oh, I casted it. Okay. Yeah, sure, fine. Node 2D. Then we get rid of this. Get rid of this. And test it out. So they should all just move like how they used to move. So yeah, they buy items. There should be restocking happening. Yeah, cool. Okay, is there a way to get around this? Can I say that this is a node 2D? I don't think you can you? Either change the type of node to node or iterate on a generic collection of type node 2D. I think you can do nodes.cast. Yeah, you can. Although if you're casting here or casting here, I don't think it really makes a difference. Does cast fail? Exception, an element in the sequence cannot be cast. Yeah, but I think casting would fail here too. So I don't really think this matters too much. Yeah, I don't really think this matters too much. All right. So here's our final code for this stuff. We have one function that is going to pursue targets. And we check with our different entities. Buy item has been changed now. So I think we've worked through a couple of these things. That's good. Make buy item use target item display component. That's good. And now restock item needs the same thing. Restock item. Restock item has this target. Yeah, that's going to have to change. Restock. All right, so when entering, we don't need to do this anymore. Let's close out all these things. Yeah, just close everything. Let's open up restock and buy item. And split this. And in... All right, so when entering restock, I guess we want to set the target to nothing. And I guess on leaving, we want to do the same thing, but that's probably going to be changed at some point. Then we need to get the component here. So if TC equals null, TC equals null, TC equals null. But this is because these just check the target. Yeah. All right, this is going to break. Yeah, this is going to break. Got my first interview in 5 years today, senior software engineer position. Terrified? Well, good luck. Just think about it this way. By the end of today, you will no longer need to be terrified because you'll be done. Well, maybe you'll be done. I don't actually know how many interviews you have. But good luck. Yeah, I hope it goes well. Hey, let's still let fate decide. And hey, St. Lucifer, of type node 2D. Where did I put that? Were you saying for what I was doing earlier with the node casting? Because I could make a change. I guess my point was no matter what, casting is going to need to happen at some point. But yeah, I'm probably just missing what I need instead of the cast. Let's go take a look at that. Where was it? Navigation system. Of type. Where does of type come from? I think I missed something. Oh man, 159 applications. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, Free Technic. Hey, Matt. Enumerable without of type? Oh, I see. You can put this here. Yeah, of type node 2D. Is this just going to filter? Also, this is presumably a function, right? Returns an enumerable that contains elements from the input. What is the impact of this, I wonder? Well, if I do this, then I can get rid of the casting, right? Shouldn't it know that this is unnecessary now? No, it still needs to be cast. Hey, Penosa. Oh wait, oh I see. You can say this node 2D here, and then you don't need this one. Yeah, I see. I got you. Okay, so node 2D. All right, let me try that out. I'm not sure how I feel about it because I'm still not sure what the impact of type is doing here. Is it running an O of n loop over the entire enumerable first, or is it doing a filter on the fly? I'm not sure. Freak technique. Oh, thank you. I think I didn't sound excited. Yeah. I don't have YouTube as a command, but I can alias it. There we go. All right, going back to this. So here's our problem is that we check to see if this thing is null here. And then these functions can change whether that was supposed to be null, but it won't actually work that way anymore. So we need to check if they have the component now. So if not ECS.hasComponent, come on, it's not going to fill it in. I got to type stuff. Yeah. All right, now for these, we can start using tc.target. In fact, all of these should just be changed to tc.target. What's the problem now? Dereference of possibly null reference. So we know it has to exist at this point because of this. I mean, I could just redefine this. I don't want to add exclamation marks everywhere. I think that'd be silly. That would get rid of it though, right? Yeah. Yeah, that looks ugly. What do we even need? I guess we need to know the component exists. This is all going to get changed eventually anyway. I don't like this. I don't like it. All right, well, I guess here's what we could do. We could just get the component again, and here we could check to see if it's null. If TC equals null, and now the code should be able to tell on its own that it's definitely not null. Okay, that'll work for now. This needs to be changed because this is removing the component altogether. Does this change the state that we're in? There's no transition here. What does this mean? Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, we need to remove the component. Now this just sets a target. Really what this should be is just returning an item display. Yeah, I'm going to change this. So this will be return null, this will be return item display, and this is also return null. Which then makes it so that we have to change this too. Yeah, so if we got an item display, then we want to add this component in. This is annoying. Item display new target equals null. Okay, so I'm gonna split all this up. I know this is ugly code for right now. If this is not equal to null, then we want to add a new thing here. Target item display component equals new, add, and then reach target. Oh, I did not do that, did I? Oh. No, I did not. All right, let's change that around a little bit. Remove component, target, item, display component. All right, so all of the reach target stuff is right here. So that's where this changes. And no matter what, we're going to remove this component, right? Yes, either because we transition. This can call exit. Exit would already have removed this component. Gotta be very careful about this stuff. Item display equals. So we need the, yeah, that we need this thing. And then we can remove the component. And then these can just be item display. All right. And then this is reach target, which we don't need anymore. This entire thing can be deleted, which is the beauty of doing things this way. And now we just need this to be set. Yeah, and it is. All right. This might work. It's still ugly code, but it might work. Is there a new video? There will be at lunchtime today. So in about maybe like 3 hours. But yeah, when I end the stream, I plan on making it public. This video that I'm releasing today took me like all of yesterday. And normally the videos don't take that long. Like it was just a ton of prep and then a lot of recording and then a lot of editing. I mean, that's usually what video production is, but usually I just do it faster. And yeah, yesterday was just a beast. So I hope it's a good video. It'll enumerate the collection like you were doing, but instead of throwing on the hard cast, it'll skip the elements which don't match the type. I see. Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you. Hey, yo. What is that on for testing? Are you using the Godot testing library? Are you writing normal unit tests or both? So right now there are no tests, but we do have a C# unit testing library in, and then we need a Godot unit testing library as well. And we don't have this yet. Oh, camera froze, thanks. Why do I even fix this? Is there like a... Let's do this. Yay. Thanks, Free Technic. Trying to have standardized state machines, or are these opinions from Godot? Just trying to have some state machines for this stuff. It's not something from Godot, it's something I added in. There's a state machine class, and it just keeps track of what states are possible. And so restock item, the reason there are all these if statements is this needs to be split into multiple states. And I want to do that soon. But yeah, this is super garbage code right now. But it looks like it works. And I mean, that's step one, is just kind of get this to work in a slightly better form, and then get it to work in the best form, I think, is step two for here. So yeah, it looks like everything's functioning correctly. Want to test something really fast. Okay, yeah. Yeah, right now they're forced to have a 2-second delay in between, like, missing whatever they're supposed to be doing. So that's why this is not going very smoothly, and the skeletons aren't just losing their items or something. But that can all be fixed. All right, have we done almost everything I wanted to do? Hey, Darkstorm. It's an extremely tiny PR. Okay, let me write that down for after this. Business is booming. That's right. All right, so we did this and we did this. Next would be split restock item into multiple states. And then modify worker to use the new state. Just need to construct the state machine differently. Planet Crafter. I don't remember you ever talking about this. Tell me more. So target item display component. This is specifically for targeting an item display. Looks good. Just came out last weekend. Wait, did you make this? Is this your game? Oh no, you're playing it. Oh, I see. Okay, I completely misinterpreted what you were saying. No wonder you never told me about it. Space survival, open world, terraforming, crafting game designed for 1 to 10 players. Okay. You know, a while ago, this might have sounded unique, the opening sentence, but I don't think it sounds very unique anymore. Not that that's a problem. It looks like it's a good game. The meta mechanic is an incremental game. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Retired Android. Thanks for resubbing. WB. Welcome back. I think this code is getting a lot cleaner. And I think part of how this is going to get cleaner is that the code for handling navigation is now in one spot. This code is garbage. This needs to be cleaned up. Yeah, this is super ugly. We're going to say refactor states and tracking item displays and navigating to item displays. Yeah, so restock item is still a mess, but this should move code to where it belongs. E.g., navigating to a target only happens in one code block instead of several. Okay, now to finally break up restock target. So I said split it into at least pick up item from storeroom and restock using held item or something. Okay. Pick up item from storeroom and then restock using held item. Yeah, I think okay, here's what we're gonna start with. We're gonna put this is just gonna be like original restock item.cs. And then we gotta go make a new one of these. So I'm gonna make a new state. It's gonna be called, I already forgot the name. Pick up item from storeroom. Yeah. Did it create it or no? I don't think it did. Okay, yeah. Create it, restock, or pick up item from storeroom. Yeah. Why is it I'm able to make my code pleasant to look at, but at the same time be terrible at making my game or project look good to players or users? They are two very different skills, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, code skills are I mean, like obviously development skills, like maintaining code, coming up with design patterns and everything. And then there's the front end of your actual game, which is a combination of like UI, UX, potentially some graphics, some animations, some transitions, any other number of things. And those are not covered at all by code skills. They're both aesthetic, but they're just incredibly different. Also, there's a function to your code, whereas I feel like you could have a UI that looks bad but still functions totally fine. Forenza, thanks for subbing. I don't think I've seen you here. I appreciate it. Following since 1 minute ago. Welcome in. I am new. Yeah. Hey. Welcome to the stream. All right. So this is going to be a little bit of a doozy here, because we're splitting up this mess of code and we're hoping that it looks a lot cleaner afterward. Do we actually use time and state for anything? We do not. No. So this should probably just be deleted here. Yeah. And it's fine to keep it if we use it eventually, but it's so easy to add that let's just delete it for now. So pick up item from storeroom. All this is going to be concerned with is the first half of it, right? Yeah. So when you enter this state, you should not have a target item display. When you leave it, you shouldn't have a target item display. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're only handling this case, right? There's no way you could be holding an item already. So I guess delete this. So if you're not holding an item, then get a target. Yeah, and then if you have a target, do this. And then what's this stuff? If you couldn't find a target, go back to wandering. Okay, that's fine. Now, if you're not holding an item, this is not true. This can't happen. And if you're holding an item and this thing has an item, okay, good. Then reach target, what does this do? You can only be holding an item in this case, so we get rid of this, I suppose. No, wait, no, it's pick up item from storeroom. Reach target is the bottom case, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. This is gonna be so much easier without so many if statements. So we get the item display, we remove this component, we remove the item from the display. We can now get rid of this from here. This will happen when you leave the state. Oh, there's no leaving the state though. Oh yeah, we need to transition into restock item. Restock item. All right, now pick storeroom source is all we need. We don't need this display target. All right, so there should be no squigglies in this file. Now let's go over to worker. And instead of switching to restock item, well, we're not actually switching yet, but I guess we need whatever this thing was called, pick up item from storeroom. All right, where do we enter the restock state? I guess worker wander puts us into that, huh? Oh, but you might be holding an item. So we need to transition in the right state based on whether you're holding an item or not. Or restock item could just transition immediately. For now, let's just have this transition based on whether you're holding an item. If entity that is holding it, oh, here we go. Perfect. Wow, nice. Man, I love it when AI just fills in exactly what I want. I don't need to think of names. I don't need to type out any of that stuff. It's like that's probably saved, let's say maybe 10 or 15 seconds, but still. And then talking about it, of course, cost me 20 or 30 seconds. But if I weren't streaming, I wouldn't have talked about it. I would have just been like, oh, cool, I'll just move on. So it would have been a net positive. Other than this exposition here. All right, so now restock item is just going to be the opposite of pickup item. It's going to be just putting it into a display. So how's this going to work? This implies that you must be holding an item. So if you're holding an item and you, yeah, so we don't need the pick storeroom source. So this can be deleted. Okay. If you couldn't find a target, then we leave. And now if you're not holding an item, that's not the case, right? It's if you're holding an item and the target has an item. Oh, and that this is now implied. We don't need this. We just need to check this. Yeah, nice. So now we can delete this too. And then same thing here. Don't you think the AI can be detrimental for the development of less experienced developers? I think it's detrimental to the learning process sometimes. But then again, I also think it can help the learning process. So I think if you lean on any tool too heavily, you will only learn how to use the tool. But for some people, not using the tool doesn't really matter to them. So as an example, you know, there's kind of this recommendation sometimes if you're going to do web development, maybe start with like JavaScript, HTML, and CSS and learn what it is that libraries do for you, and then maybe move on to like React and Tailwind and all this other stuff. But that might not matter to some people. It's like, hey, maybe you don't care about learning the foundations and maybe you don't really need to write performant code for whatever you're doing. Maybe you're making a personal blog site or something. And it's like, yeah, well, you could certainly benefit by doing things differently, but it might not be important to you. So who am I to say? Yeah, the mentoring stuff, if you've seen this document here, this is the schedule, but it's also the archive of every mentoring session I've done so far. So if you like whatever you end up seeing today, you could go watch more of this if you want to. No, I know you're new. I just didn't know if you maybe had been watching for a bit and saw some of these commands. Right now, it is 9:18 for me, and mentoring will start at 11 a.m. So it's another hour and 42 minutes. Yeah. All right. So where did I leave off with this? Oh yeah, reach target is only that you're holding an item, and we add it to the display. So now we get rid of this. We get rid of this. We get rid of this. Oh, this looks so much better already. Yeah. Okay, let's try this out. Ideally, it just works. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, same time zone. Yeah. Okay, the skeleton is doing nothing. It's just bouncing back and forth. All right, so the skeleton is lost, which means pickup item from storeroom is failing. So let's take a look at what should be happening. We check to see if it's got a target item display. And if it's not holding an item, and it, wait, if it's not holding an item, it shouldn't even be in this state. I guess we can just do this. And even this can be moved in here. And then this can be put up here. And this doesn't even need to be done here. We can just say TC equals new. Why is that failing? Remove this useless assignment to local variable TC. Oh, just because I haven't finished using it yet? All right, so let's read this. We check to see if you have a target. If you don't, we try to find a target. If we do, we add it to your entity. Then that's it. And so when you reach the target, that's when we do remove item from the display. set that you're holding an item, say that you picked it up, and then transition it into a new thing. I don't see anything wrong with this. So maybe I fixed the logic with what I just did, and maybe it's still broken. So will the skeleton go over to one of these displays? Of course not. I wonder if it's even in the right state. Let's just debug this. So I'll put a breakpoint here. And that's probably pretty good. Hey, Smoo. I'd argue you will in more cases learn more by actually building something rather than spending a lot of time learning fundamentals. I think you'll learn different things. Yeah. And yeah, you probably will learn more by building things, but I think you might miss some of the fundamentals. Produces practical output, which is not what I was asking about. Fundamentals exist for a reason. They're the basis of the bulk of logic underneath systems. If we dumb down the whole process and direct it toward a specific end goal, we end up with less experienced developers able to adapt and build new solutions. You know, really, I think you can kind of argue this both ways. What if someone wanted to be a developer and couldn't get into it, and AI lowered the barrier enough for them to become a developer? So now the world has one more developer where previously it wouldn't have had one. Well, now that person who is currently a developer can go learn some of these fundamentals at some point. But if they never even got into it because they lacked the motivation, maybe because it seemed like it was too challenging, then they'll never even have a chance to learn the fundamentals. So I really think this comes down to like, there are lots of factors at play here and lots of motivations for doing things. And we need that diversity of experience and motivations in pretty much every industry. So I don't see AI as a bad thing in that regard. I think AI can be bad in a lot of regards, but yeah, not this particular one, I think. Okay, so don't care about this. Let's hit play. And yep, there it goes. In 2 seconds, this should happen. So we should not have a component here. This should be null. No, yes, good. Okay, so then we try to pick a storeroom source. This should definitely find something. So this should not be null. Good. Now we make a new component, add it, and then mark when it reaches a target that it should do something. So that looks fine. Now we get into this. This should just not do anything special here. Oh, okay. Well, that's a problem. Oh, whoops. This was supposed to be a not sign. There we go. Does that mean I reversed this one? No, this I did not reverse. Okay, yeah, I think that should fix it. Let's take a look. Also touches on the concept of how many levels of abstractions you're okay with. Clearly you don't have to learn the fundamentals of how networks work to build a website. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Because it is true, right? You don't need to know how routers work or anything. If you're building a website, you just kind of trust that the internet is going to get you traffic somehow. But if you're a company like Google making websites, you do need to know how routers work. So yeah, it all depends on what you're comfortable with. This looks like it's working just fine. Let's add a bunch of workers. And oh wait, no, it's not working. What am I talking about? These customers aren't. Oh wait, they are buying stuff. It's just there wasn't anything to buy. All right, do we see anything ever get stuck? I don't think so. Yeah, nice. All right. Looking good. And I think we can probably make this even slightly better than what we have. So yeah, this code is a little bit ugly. So what are we really doing here? If you couldn't find an item, then we want to leave this state. Can't just call leave though. It's like set back to wander. Also, this return isn't needed, which means there's probably a return over here that also isn't needed. I just want to, I don't know. These states are very similar in that they're just picking an item display target, but in different ways. One is picking it from the storeroom and the other one's picking it from the town, but they're kind of the same general code. Yeah. And even reach target probably has some similar stuff. Although it's different enough. I think I just want to simplify this code that we have here. Because yeah, I think this is kind of bad. All right, how do we want to do that? So it's if you don't have a target display component, then add one. And if you couldn't, then just transition. Pick storeroom source, add one. I think this is, I don't know. I guess the way that we'd make this sort of more explicit here is by doing something like this. This would transition us into the wander state. And then it would return. And that way this code wouldn't need to be here. And we know that this couldn't be null at this point. Oh, interesting. We can only find things that have items. Oh, so this could just be an else. And we just transition here. Yeah. All right. I think that's maybe a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to spend too long on this particular bit. All right, now let's get this to match somewhat with what I just had over here. So if the entity is holding an item and this is null, then pick a new target. You can't not be holding an item. You need to be holding an item to enter this state. So you can get rid of that. So if TC is null, new target, and then if new target is equal to not equal to null, then do this. So the only place new target can change is here. Then if it was null, then we transition to the wander state and return. Else do that. So now this can be deleted. And then I'm pretty sure we can delete this too. DC equals null. No, this is broken. What am I doing? Oh God. Oh no. This had an if statement that I just got rid of. Yeah, whoops. Yeah, this if should have been here still. I was gonna say, as I'm writing this, I'm like, this is totally wrong. Yeah, this should just be an if as well. Okay, there. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, I'm gonna test this out. If it works, then we're probably just gonna call it at that. All right, customers are buying items. Skeletons at least pick up items. It looks like he's going to restock. Yeah, so now add some workers. Yeah, the customers don't have any items to go to, which is why they're just wandering around. So that's working as intended. Now they have items to go to. Yep, nice. All right. Now let's just flood the place. In the final game, there might be this many customers and there might be this many workers, but the item displays won't just be right there. There'll be multiple. And maybe customers will have some like proximity thing on them. Looking like a Black Friday. Workers can't even keep up. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this ended up. All right, modify worker to use the new states. Rationale for all this, buy item and restock item have a lot in common. Restock is really complicated to read through. It's got like 5 if statements. So did I make this easier to read through now? Now it's, if you don't have a target, find a target. And if you have a target and the target has an item, then transition out of the state. And maybe just putting all this into its own function would be helpful. Yeah, I have pick item display target here. I guess doing state transitions is a little bit weird. I think this is fine. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much longer on this. We could just keep trying to make this slightly better, but I think at least code's in generally the right spot. Yeah, this is the beauty of this, by the way. There used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if statements in this function. Oh, maybe 6. And it's like, that's just a mess to read. It's hard if you're new to the code base to figure out what's going on there. All right, so yeah, let's check this in. Refactor, restock item. I split it into 2 states to make it easier to understand. Yeah. All right, only 2 more aspects to this cleanup stuff. Get down to a single wander state. They do exactly the same thing, except the wander transitions only upon having enough money, and they transition to different states. Well, now that's not even true. Now, wander and worker wander. Compare. Okay, so names are different. That's totally fine. This code, I just added in another if statement here. What we could do, for some of this at least, we could have it so that regardless of whether you're holding an item, restock item can just figure that out. Or no, pick up item from storeroom can figure that out. So right now, here's our state tree. We have wander goes into this, goes into this. Or it goes into this. If you don't have an item, and if you do have an item. So we could change it so that it always does this. Could just always do this. And then pick up item from storeroom figures out whether you have an item already. And I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. But that doesn't really fix all of the problem that we have here. Part of the problem is we have this if money is greater than or equal to 50. So there's a wander state, and for customers, how you leave that state is different. We could just make a root wander state. Is that what I wrote? Could just inherit from base wander. Yep. Okay, well then that's what we're doing, because that's exactly what I just thought of now too. Old me thinks just like current me. So we're going to call this base wander. And this is just a state for node 2Ds. All right. Target location component. Yeah, that's fine. State process. So state process needs some basic thing here, which is if you don't have a target location, just randomly come up with one and add this. And then don't do this stuff. Yeah, there, that's it. Okay, now wander is going to inherit from base wander. It does not need this. This now needs to be protected. What is this? Do not declare visible instance fields. Oh, you're supposed to have it be a, whatever it's called, a property or something. Can it just do this for me? Did I never do this myself? Huh. Yeah, I think we need to say time and state get set. And then, change all this stuff. Okay, so now we delete this. We're not actually going to override enter, and we're not going to override leave. We're just going to override the state process to call the super version of this. I don't know how you do that in C#. C# call parent method. Base dot, is that what it is? Base dot, yeah, base dot. Okay, so base dot state process delta. And then we only care about the transition being different, which is this stuff. Oh, this is so nice. Look at how simple this is. Probably shouldn't be called Wander, though. It should probably be called the customer Wander. So I'll just write that down. We'll change the name at the end. Rename Wander to customer Wander. All right, let's go test it. Customers should do literally the same thing they were just doing, which is see product, go nuts. Cannot convert from collection expressions to I read only list in customer line 30. Oh, right. Whoops. Wait a second. No, what is going on there? I was going to say I forgot to add the state, but I didn't forget to add the state. Cannot convert from collection expression to this. Base wanders a state. What am I doing wrong? This calls into the root, right? What am I doing wrong here? I don't know what I messed up. Huh. All right, well, let's copy this. I can't even right click this. Oh, wait. Oh, check that out. The copy error thing came up over here. When I right click this. Okay, I thought that just wasn't showing at all. I want to read the full error message. Also, I got to take a break soon. Cannot convert from collection expressions to I read only list. States that involves a customer. Oh, because this just is a node 2D. Right. Okay, that's the problem. Oh, so this had to match the... Oh, man. Okay. That's a shame. I'd have to make this a node 2D and then buy item would fail because we run into a problem there. All right, I think I need to take out the generics of the state machine itself because not every state needs the same type. Yeah, now it's going to say it can't convert the yeah, buy item. State T where T colon node 2D. That's already. Oh, I think I see what you're saying. Wait, wouldn't that be the same as just this? Maybe it's not the same. I know I'm typing generics incorrectly here. State machine T, base wander T. Yeah. Let's try that. Requires one type argument. Oh, whoops, yeah. So wander in this case is going to be a wander of a, well, I guess we could say it's a customer. All right, where do we stand now? Okay, apparently that worked. So yeah, thank you, Lucifer. Can you ask about the custom keyboard? Yeah, sure. I've got a command there with some information about it. Wow, look at that. St. Lucifer saves the day. All right, so I'm gonna take my break. Yeah, Porsche, I'll be back in a little bit. I won't see your chat message if you type it now, though, so you'll probably have to wait till after the break because there's usually a lot of spam because we're gonna play Jump Royale. Is it jump time? It's jump time. All right, Porsche, I see your message. I'll respond to it after I come back. Rensu, I caught that last jump. He went from like first or second into eighth or something like that. Close the game. So Porsche, I said I saw your message. I'll respond to it. Are you still there? Let me ask them like this. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this was your message. Let me read it. I saw your clip on YouTube about what's the corn keyboard. Interested in trying my first split. Currently uses 60%. My main concern is typing in 2 languages. Yeah. So I can't comment on this out of experience, but I think that whatever you tend to type should be easy. So if, let's say, you somehow had a language that had like 120 characters and every single one of them was used as commonly as every other one, then you probably need 120 keys on your keyboard. And there are some exclusions to this. Like in English, letters like Q and Z aren't commonly used, and some people actually do put it into another layer. But I think that'd be a little bit weird because a lot of shortcuts still use Q and Z. And so it might not be common in English, but like these are pretty common shortcuts, at least for me. So yeah, I think using a 3x6 layout is probably good. That would give you, what, 42 keys? And I guess you'd still have a decision to make about which keys do you want or don't want there. So I can't comment on, like I said, I can't comment on Thai. I don't know what you'd be able to move out easily, but if you can find something. Chrome extension lets me mouse drag on the screen. It automatically types a jump directions chat. Yeah. Someone, I think Xanis made something like that a while ago. How many shirts do I have? I'm not sure. But this was a conscious decision from a long time ago. Because if you check out the Botland VODs, where are those Botland VODs? Here. Yeah, like I had a very, very different wardrobe back then. And it was mostly t-shirts and hoodies. And I guess none of these thumbnails are big enough for you to see, but yeah. New logos. Oh, check this out, chat. I gotta actually read these messages, but woo. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think Seller probably needs to be a little bit easier to read. And so for just visual clarity, I think this style, but with a lighter color on Seller. Yeah, this looks great. How bad is using C# and Godot? It's pretty good. Like skull number 1, number 3's colors. Yeah. I like it a lot. It's very cool to see. Number 3 all the way. Yeah. Yeah, very nice. And I like the pixelated look here, but I think this is probably better. 3 with the eyebrows of 1. I'm very torn. But I'll have to think about this later. I'll get back to it later at some point. Is this AI generated? No. This is the work of Quickie Joe. I've got a credits command. The eyebrows give you the woo effect. Yeah, this looks great. Fantastic. All right, let's copy this link into here because other people probably want to see this at some point. Colorize logos. Is Quickie Joe an AI model? No. Quickie Joe is a human. Why use artificial intelligence when you can have the real thing? All right, where we leave off of this, I think it was the base wander stuff. Yeah. Hey, Quickie Joe. Great logos, by the way. I don't know if you saw in chat what people said, but starting here. Yeah, are you real? All right, also, how are we doing on time? 9:47. Yeah, we got some time. All right, so now worker wander can do something like what wander did. Wander did something like this. So worker wander is going to be base wander worker. We delete all of this stuff. I think we can delete all that stuff, right? Yeah. All right, now if you don't have a target, pick one. We don't need that. We don't need this. And we just need this. Wow, look at how nice that is. Now we can delete all these directives. That sounds like something a robot would say. I'm not sure anymore. Make him complete a CAPTCHA. I think colorizing the logo is CAPTCHA enough. Okay, no, this is broken now. What did I do wrong? Time stays greater than 2. If you're holding an item, restock. If you're not holding an item, pick up from storeroom. What did I break? What did I even remove from here? If you don't have one of these, then make one. Is that not what Wander does? That is what Wander does. Oh, I forgot to call the superclass. Of course. Is career mentoring in an hour? It's in an hour and 10 minutes, but roughly an hour from now is when we're going to look over the old notes. So it's kind of essentially going to start in like an hour, yeah. All right, nice. This is looking good. Yeah, I'm glad we have solutions for a lot of these things. I've been consuming a lot of resources on entity component systems to see how people do them, why people use them. And there are, I think, two main reasons. One is for cache coherence, which is if you have all your data aligned in the same spots in memory, then you can iterate over all those entities that have those components and not need to search different spots in memory. It'll already be loaded. So, and then the other reason is just kind of separation of concerns. And I'm only doing it for this reason. Because Godot is not an ECS engine by default, and they have something called Godex or Godex or whatever, which is I think some like Rust-based reimagining of the engine, which has entities built in. But yeah, I like this idea of storing things like this that you see here. This is a money component, and all it has is money. That's it. And then it'll have simple utility functions just for changing those values, but it doesn't have any logic in it beyond that. There's no like if money hits 500 to spend it on something that would be somewhere else. So yeah, I like these sorts of things. I think we're done with everything except the rename. Get down to a single wander state. Yeah, rename wander to customer wander. All right, how do we easily do that? Customer wander. And then rename it over here too to customer wander. All right, I think we're good. Does it work? Yeah, it looks like it's working. Nice. Refactor wander states. There was a lot of duplicated code. Everyone could create or suggest a chat command for a Twitch channel, and the owner or multiple moderators could just accept it like a pull request. You think it makes sense, mostly for testing purposes? I think something like that is really hard in practice because, for one, not all of chat cares enough to do something like that. Two is that most commands are sort of obvious just based on usage. So like, let's say someone in here were to type something like a mouse command. If I didn't have it, I would just ask them, oh, hey, what do you expect it to be? And I would just add it on the spot. Like mouse, the mouse that Adam uses is. So it's not a bad idea, and you could certainly try it, but I'm not sure how many people would use it. The other thing is it adds in a review queue that you need to go manage at some point. And unless you already have a dashboard with all of that stuff, it might go unnoticed. All right, we're just going to review this code now. In fact, let's use this means of doing it. Where is this? Buy item, okay. Yeah, nice. That's pretty good. All right. The last thing is add held item component to replace the Boolean property in worker. This is the first component associated with a sprite. There are a few ways we could do this. Number one is when adding the component, also add a sprite. Have the component be a sprite, or don't use a component at all. Just put a sprite 2D directly in the worker until we want to pull this logic out in other entities. This represents more than it looks like it represents. Yeah. So here's what the goal was. The goal is have workers look like they're holding the item that they're holding. Look like they're holding an item when they're restocking, I guess. So the typical, like, if you picture Link in Link to the Past, holding item. Is there a pic? Yeah, something like this, where like Link is clearly holding that item, and so we can add in a component, which is like held item component, and it could have an item in it or something like that, and maybe the item is a sword or a potion or something. That's easy enough to do. But the problem is components are just for data. So this would say that you're holding this, but then we would need a sprite to be kept in sync with that component. So now, yeah, there needs to be a sprite kept in sync with the component. And so that's where we have this option. When you add this component, maybe there's also like an event just added component that needs sprite or something like that. And it could just add the sprite into the entity and I could remove it afterward. Yeah. Not sure if I asked, but did you check out the DSA Voyager? I've seen it, yeah. I think what would be hard for me to get used to if I were to buy it is that I have 3 thumb buttons, and I've gotten very used to having 3 thumb buttons. And then also, I think it has too many keys for me, so I'd probably end up popping a lot of them off, and then it would take up more space on my desk. But yeah, it looks like a nice keyboard. Hey, Nasra. I apparently missed your message. Sorry. Yeah, 52 keys. Yeah. Yeah, my keyboard has 36, and I think that's pretty good. But to each their own. Like, if you like the keyboard, by all means, go for it. It's probably high build quality and everything. So, what is the problem with this, I guess? We need to detect when you add and remove the component. Add and remove a component like this. So that means that component would probably need some functions here. Something like protected, added to entity, and removed from entity. Yeah, component could have added to entity and removed from entity. Those could add or remove a sprite from the entity itself. I mean, that's reasonable enough, I guess, right? Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. That's not the time. Skyward Sword is the one they remade for the Switch, right? Let me see. Okay, yeah. I feel like so I played Breath of the Wild and then Skyward Sword, and I sort of hated Skyward Sword as a result. I feel like it's just a way worse Breath of the Wild. And I don't think that's true of all the Zelda games. Like it's not just you go back in history and they get worse and worse and worse. I think they're very different at some point, but Skyward Sword, yeah, just felt worse. There's one other thing I was thinking of here, though, which is there's an item that exists in the world, and moving it into your scene, I think could be interesting. But I think that's separate from this. Yeah, I think this style makes sense. I don't know if this is a dumb idea or not, though. And this is here just to be able to keep things in sync with the Godot scene tree. All right, I want to think about this a little bit longer before I commit to this. So my other idea was have the component be a sprite. We would just add or remove it by node path. So in this case, instead of held item component in the ECS, it would just be something like partial class held item colon sprite 2D. And then, yeah, how do we get information on it? And I guess we just query that node. But then systems can't act on this. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I think I'm leaning toward number one. I think this makes sense. They're great games. They don't feel like Zelda at all. I think they still feel like Zelda. I mean, they're in the Zelda universe. They have all the Zelda music. They have callbacks to other Zelda games. So I know what you mean, that it doesn't feel like the typical Zelda formula, but it still does feel like a Zelda game. It's got the very involved storyline of collect Triforce, rescue princess. Actually, I don't even remember there was a Triforce in either of the new ones. But yeah. Anyway, I loved the new ones. I thought Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were both fantastic games, just absolutely great. And I also like a lot of the old ones, but I don't like a lot of the 3D old ones. So Twilight Princess, bad. Skyward Sword, bad. Were there any other ones I played in that whole 3D era? I don't know. Then like OOT and before, generally good, but Zelda 2 sucks. I know some people like the game. I played it a ton. I can't exactly say it's a great game. Wind Waker. Oh, Wind Waker was good. I liked Wind Waker. Yeah. Hey, mini snacks. I think one of my favorite Zelda games though is Link's Awakening. I just I just feel like they nailed so much in that game. The music, the tone, the just the expansiveness for a Game Boy game. What a good game. All right, yeah, so I'm leaning toward this here, and I think this makes sense so that things can detect this. And we probably need to write this down somewhere. Also, what a cute picture. Write down somewhere why I'm doing the whole keep components in sync with the scene tree. It's so that we can still make use of querying all entities with a particular component. Actually, I guess we could do this even with the other system. I didn't think about that. They could if we added them to a group. Yeah, then both systems would work for this. So we could essentially have like a data component and then a scene tree component. I think this would be a little bit weird. Also, I think keeping things in sync would be a little bit weird. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. What about the new MOBA 3D predecessor? What is this? With more than, oh, what is this? Inspired by the legacy of Paragon, built with love by the community, powered by Unreal Engine 5. Ultimate fusion of shooter, action, and MOBA strategy. Join more than 1 million players. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Looks interesting enough, I guess. Yeah, I'm definitely torn on this. Hang on one second. Hang on. I'll be right back. Sorry, my wife is like right outside my room playing some audio. I'm like, can you go somewhere else? Yapper. Um, yeah, so we still have these two routes, I guess. add and remove by node path, also add to a group so that we can find these components easily later. But I think it'd want more structure around this. More structure around this eventually. So we have component. This would essentially be a scene tree component. I don't like that there would be two systems for this stuff. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Let's try this out. A component is now going to have a couple of extra things like added to entity. Now it's the entity component system that adds things. So it's in there that we could call this add component. It is right here. So we do add child. This could be called when the component isn't even in the scene tree. Is that correct? No, that's not correct. No, it has to be in the scene tree or else add child wouldn't work. I think that's true. All right, so we would then call a function on the component itself. Yeah. Wait a second, we have a node for this though. What if we just have a components node and then we have the actual component. So this would be like held item component. What if we put a sprite in here? Held item graphic. No, I think this is weird. Yeah, I think this is weird. I'm going to get something working here, and then we're going to see how this feels. So this would have to be public. Void added to entity. And we intentionally don't do anything here, and then same thing with removed from entity. Node doesn't exist, so we have to add that. Add an nested comment explaining why you didn't do this. Add comment. Realize I could have done fix all and did not do that. And properties should not follow methods. Okay, yep. So put this down here. All right. Now, the component gets called with added to entity. And when you remove it, we do the same thing. I don't think we ever have another add child here. No, just there. And then what is it? Remove child? Yeah, free the component node. We're not doing that just yet. There we go. Okay. So this we definitely need a summary for. Allows a component to keep some, to stay in sync with the scene tree. For example, perhaps there's a component that represents being on fire. When it's added to an entity, there may be a particle system to the entity. Consider add component to return the component you added, because we have to add and then do another call to get component. Maybe just return the added component immediately. I've thought about that, and I don't think it's too bad, but the way that this works is add component takes in the component anyway. So the caller already has it. So the caller could just use it. I mean, we could have it return it anyway. We could just say component or T and then just return the component at the end. But I don't, I mean, that would be like a convenience thing, I think. I need to see an area that you're talking about where it is kind of a problem to do. Because like I said, in every case, the caller should just have it. Like here, there's a money component. We already have it right here. And here there's a target location component, but we already have it right there. Okay, so now we need a held item component that's going to override these methods. So let's go to this. Let's save this as held item component. And we need to keep track of which item is being held, but we don't actually have items in the game yet, so this is kind of weird. Held item component, by the way, what time is it? Okay, we're still good. There doesn't need to be any of this stuff. We don't even need a function here. All we really need is to override these things. This takes in a node. Yeah. So we're going to just add a sprite here, literally any sprite, it doesn't matter what. So how do we add a sprite? Sprite 2D sprite equals. No, this is not how you do this. We would load in a scene. How about we just add in an item display? So we'll just add in a table and everything too. Sure, why not? Yeah. So we'll look at instantiate. Put this here. So we'll just say scene and instance and item display and get that. Get it from item display, instantiated. And I guess keep track of the instance in here too. Private item display instance equals null. All right, then just remove the instance. Should know what I want to do here. There we go. All right, what's the problem? Cannot override inherited memory because it's not marked virtual abstract override. Well, excuse me, princess. All right. Externally visible method, validate entity is not null before using it. Yeah, I don't think this can be null. Yeah, I don't think this ever could be. Could just do this. No. This is where we should probably put the not null thing, right? And then what, we need to use that? Yeah, there we go. Same thing here, not null. Basically this, tiny bit annoying, I can live with that. Oh, I see, because you do new here. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I'll write that down. Also, feel free if you want to make that change too. It's totally fine. Should be very, very straightforward. Add this. Doing it fast today? Oh, nice. Yeah, watching me code will take your mind off the hunger. Well, welcome in APX. Hey, Kojen. By the way, if anyone has any other questions after reading this very short FAQ, definitely let me know. This is the kind of thing I want to keep this up to date with what people are curious about. All right, are we good now? This is going to look very funky, but what we're going to do is we're going to add a held item component to an entity when we press a key or something like that. And it should look strange, but it should work. So how do we do this? Restock item. No, there's that storeroom component. What was that called? Pickup item. Here it is. All right, we have this has item thing, and this is probably used in a bunch of spots. Oh boy. How fun. Well, those don't really matter. Item display, storeroom, town. Yeah, that stuff doesn't matter either. I guess it's pretty much just... Oh, we don't even need to track this anymore. This is completely unused because I now have proper states. So this is... No, this is still used. Well, just ignore me making stuff up. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, whoops. All right, well, we can get rid of all these still. All right, let's delete you. Goodbye. It is holding item. And then you will change to as component held item component. This is really entity. This is really this, and this is this. There we go. Entity doesn't exist. Oh, this is worker. Yeah, my bad. Okay, good. Now is holding item is true. We need to add the component. This doesn't even take in a, doesn't take in anything, right? It's not even called holding item. It's called held item. How dare you, AI? How dare you? All right, is holding item equals false. So now ECS.remove component, held item component, and one more is over here. If ECS dot has held item component worker wander. Good. All right, let's try it out. Like I said, it's going to look super weird because instead of just showing the item, we're showing this entire thing. But that's a very easy fix afterward. So now skeletons, when they pick up an item, should have a table on them. Let's see. Yup. So stupid. Oh my God. All right. Well, it works. Problem solved. Those are some powerful skeletons. Yeah. Ship it. Just like they're shipping items. Hey gamers, I'll be back here when this topic enters my syllabus. Oh, I'll definitely be continuing. And welcome in. Yeah, so obviously what we really want to do is just have them pick up the item. I don't know an easy way of doing that though. Well, I do know an easy way, but I would need to make a new scene. Let's go to held item component. Also, this is a pretty good way of handling this. So yeah, so how do we make a sprite and set its texture in here? We probably need to load a resource that is, I don't know. I don't want to deal with all this stuff, but still, let's look it up. C#, Godot, add sprite and set texture. I just don't know what the types of all this is going to be. Yeah, like we got to load a texture. How do you, what is the type of texture? Resource loader dot load, what, texture 2D? Yeah, it's probably that. Now, what do we have it called? It is assets temp potion.png. Assets temp potion. All right, so that's the texture. Now we need a sprite 2D equals just new. Now we set the texture. Do we have to instantiate this? I don't know. Object can be simplified. What? Seriously? Oh, yeah, sure. And I was say remove the unused local variable sprite. Oh yeah, because I haven't actually done anything with it yet. And let's put that here. All right, probably change this to private sprite 2D sprite equals null. Delete this. All right, what's that look like? It might fail before it even, oh wow, didn't fail. Wait, so that is how you load it? I guess that wasn't that hard. Hey, now it's holding the potion. So now we don't need that modulate thing there anymore. Nothing is interacting with it right now. Objectively, the item is teleporting. Yeah. Yeah, that could be done eventually. Like this item slot has a sprite, so couldn't we just take this sprite from there and put it into the skeleton scene? And ideally, yes, that is what we'd be doing eventually. And I think we'll write that down for this maybe. Instead, like held item component would change by taking the sprite from the item display. Hey, track me. All right, there we go. Has disposable field sprite, but is not disposable. So in this case, it's the scene tree that's going to handle this stuff. So this is a spurious error. Yeah. Yeah, we just want to suppress this. CA 1001. We had CA 2000, I think. Yeah, dispose objects before losing scope. I guess this is very similar. Types that own disposable fields should be disposable. I don't want to make this disposable and then like it's handled by the added and removed stuff being called correctly. If we ran into an issue where this weren't called, then yeah, we'd have a big problem. When you want to add the held item component with a certain image instead of having the component figure out its texture. Yeah, you would. Yeah, this is not the final code for this. We don't even properly have items. They're all literally just the potion sprite, and it's just hard coded right now. But yeah, in the future, this would be different. It's like how I have this all over the place. Like add money 50, modify money negative 50. Like this should be pulled in from a constant somewhere. We just don't have items in the game yet. I think game dev is a little strange that way sometimes in that like you need to start somewhere, but a lot of systems depend on other systems. And if you haven't coded those systems, you add in simplifications of them. What was I about to do? Oh yeah, the modulate thing. The modulate thing shouldn't be there. Modulate. So this is not needed anymore. Because now it's clear they're holding something. And we can delete this. Add that warning to editor config. We don't need that anyway. We might need that, but I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Look at that. It's holding the potion. All right, now, just for the sake of making this look a little bit better, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say sprite.position equals new vector, maybe like negative 14. I know I'm hard coding this. I know we shouldn't really do that. Why did that get squiggles? Use a trailing comma. All right, now we rerun this. There should be an animation when picking up or putting down probably, but we're not going to do that. So now they pick up the item. Oh yeah, potion on head. It looks really dumb. Oh, I'm keeping it. I don't care. No, we should just lower it a little bit. Maybe like -4 instead of -14. So it'll be 10 pixels lower. I don't know if it's going to look better or worse. Yeah, it's decent. Yeah, it's decent. Maybe even make them like slightly modulate equals, yeah, slightly transparent. Kind of looks like a crown on their head. Yeah. And these aren't the final graphics, so I'm not totally sure what it's going to look like eventually, which is why I shouldn't be putting in a lot of thought into this. But there, now it's at least half opacity. And it still kind of looks weird. Yeah, it still kind of looks weird. Just delete this. All right, whatever. I'm not going to spend more time looking at this. All right, take care, Porsche. Have a good night. Thanks for dropping in. It's a shame you can't hot reload stuff. Yeah. Yeah. In GD script you can, and that's actually one of the benefits of it. And I'm going to write that down in the whole Godot engine thing. Did I write this here? C# in Godot engine. I wrote this somewhere. Maybe in GD script? Ah, my opinion about GD script. Benefits of GD script. Alright, there are some benefits of GDScript. Hot reloading code. Yeah. Hey, Zachariah. What's hot reloading? So if I were to pull up non-C# Godot, I can just show you what this is. All right, so let's load up this game, for example. All right, so check this out. We have our character in here, and it says, actually, don't worry about what it says. All right, so let's go into the scripts, and then let's go change maybe character sprite.gd. Whoops. Okay, so if I were to change something in here, let's say we did something like scale equals vector 2.0. That did nothing. I wonder if these are character sprites? Huh. Maybe I modified the wrong thing. Anyway, hot reloading would be making changes on the fly while the editor's open. And I'm just not sure what I'm modifying here right now. Oh, maybe it's overworld character. Yeah, I could do something like that. Use space character for indentation. All right. I think if I produce an error intermediate, or never mind. I'm just gonna delete this. Yeah, hot reloading is just making changes while this is open, and I think I broke this. So I guess I won't have a coherent demo at all. It's like when you change JS without having to do F5. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Coding in GDScript and C# is not something I ever really planned on doing. I guess it's nice that you have the option to do it, but I don't see much of a need. Okay, so we changed this. We have these two calls. There should be no other removing a component. Yeah, there is not. Held item component is now brand new. We are just going to disable this, so I'll do this in a separate commit. Just disable this in editor config. I'll do that in a separate commit though, like I said. Yeah, we got rid of this. That's good. Now, the beauty of working with these components is that in theory, we could just add one of these components to a customer, for example, and it should just work. But yeah, I don't have a need for that right now. Add held item component. Skeletons now visibly hold the item that they're restocking. This represents a larger change to the entity component system in that there is now a mechanism for keeping the Godot scene tree in sync with the components on an entity. Someone might make JavaScript for Godot, but I feel like that would be a bad idea. I think if you want to use a scripting language for Godot, GDScript is good. And I think JavaScript would be a step backwards because while it may be more familiar for some people, it's lacking types. And I think the type hints that you can give GDScript are worthwhile to add in. And even if you don't add in type hints, Godot can still figure out some things that you're doing wrong for you. All right, I think we're getting close to running out of time here. So let's go into editor config and add in this warning. I think all of these are just numerically sorted. Yeah. So which is the one we want to get rid of? 1001. So we put this up here. And I think, where did I put that? Held item component? All right, types. Yeah, there we go. JS for certain use is a bad idea. Didn't stop people. I I think I guess what I'm trying to say is it takes development effort to add something in, and certainly you could take something like white space, the language. Where is it? This. Like white space is a language that literally just has two characters, tabs and spaces, and you can code entire programs with that. You could technically make Godot using white script or white space, but like you just never would. It's kind of a waste of development time. It's sort of a joke almost. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you were to spend your development time porting Godot to JavaScript, you could probably just add whatever tooling you need on GDScript. I recognize it doesn't really matter. It's someone's time. They can use it however they want, but I think it's not a good use of their time. All right, so modify editor config. In this particular case, the nodes that we keep in sync between the scene tree and components should be managed by the component lifecycle functions, added to entity and removed from entity. Okay, so that's done. This is done. And now Darkstorm said there was a PR. I think we might have enough time to look into this. Oh, this is super fast. In general, when you declare, oh yeah. I think Darkstorm even mentioned this to me. When you declare events where you really don't care about who the sender was and what data comes in, you just declare action. Standard rules will warn you to use the generic event handler T. Switch from warning to suggestion. Initially want to ignore this completely. Totally fine. In fact, we have a suggestion right now that I feel like should be a warning, and it's the use of var. This. No, this is for built-in types. Elsewhere, yeah, this false colon suggestion. Kind of think that should just be a rule that we have. I don't think we should pay much attention. Yeah. Events most likely don't need to be initialized. We can safely just do a null conditional question mark dot. Okay, so I'm just waiting for this thing to finish. No, I get it, Evil Rex. And yeah, I think the part that didn't sound like a joke was this, and maybe it was a joke. But if you do want to learn Godot and you feel like the language is holding you back, I would just say then just try the language. But yeah, if that's not serious, it's not serious. It's been like that since the PR. Is GitHub broken? I just pushed, I think, so I thought that's what it had to do with. Did I just push? Yeah, 2 minutes ago. Yeah, it's possible this gets fixed on its own. And it's possible that it doesn't. Well, I could always just merge it from the command line. Yeah. Also, it should be dead simple, so let's just go do that. All right, so GHPR list. GHPR checkout 38. Okay, we should just have whatever that is. 1003. Yep, looks good. Is there a merge in here? Merge a pull request. GitHub PR merge. And what's the number? 38. Create a merge commit, squash and merge. Delete the branch locally, sure. Submit. Pull request is not mergeable. Okay, I guess this is not just a UI problem. Oh, good. All right, accept both, but then the order needs to change. There. Mark as resolved and commit. I think this should be fine. Hey, Remy. I hope you enjoy our 3-minute long mentoring session today. It's not the language, I'm just lazy. I see. Well, even just addressing that, I mean, I know we're probably getting into deep joke territory here, but you should give it a shot. Godot really is pretty nice, and it's pretty easy to use. All right, Remy, I look forward to it. Oh man, this is taking a long time. For a one-line PR, I should just be able to click the button. I guess let's just wait for it. All right. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any other time this morning to do other stuff. This will all have to be afternoon things. The only thing I'm hoping to do this morning is click this button. I'm just waiting for it to light up. Was doing your head in during work hours? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just wait on this. Serious issue. Not much of the willpower to do so yet. You know, a lot of people in that situation have problems that are not just actually laziness. Like I think the most common thing nowadays is ADHD. When people maybe think they're being lazy or have a hard time focusing, it's like, well, it's an actual diagnosable concern. Had to refresh a multitude of times. I don't think this is a UI thing though, because when I tried through here, it just said pull request is not mergeable. So I think there's actually something in the back end, and refreshing is, well, maybe that's what you're saying. It's just you had to wait a certain amount of time. All right, I'll just write down merge this, and we'll just check it out in a bit, I guess. All right, so the rest of this morning is mostly mentoring and then making sure that I put this video online. Let's also fill this out. Skeleseller mentoring. So cleaned up some state machine code in the morning. Mentored Remy. Yeah. All right, 10:35. I took a break. I got back. I read the notes. Yeah, I don't. Well, I need to take a break anyway. I'll refresh one more time, and then yeah, let's just take the break. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Is it jump time? It's jump time. ready? Close the game. All right, so we are going to start shifting into mentoring pretty soon. I think we'd be starting a touch early if we were to do it now. Yeah, it still doesn't let up. Tooltip component. Enemy ones. This is done. Oh, interesting. Yeah, a system could do this. Okay. All right, let me write this down over here. Write down this consideration. Yeah. Hey, Mousy. Happy Wednesday to you too. Yeah. All right. I think we're in good shape. So here's where we stand. It's 10:40. At 11 is going to be mentoring. At roughly 12, I'm going to make my YouTube video public and take a lunch break. And then at 4, I have an obligation. So I think at 1 o'clock I can restart the stream. And then we'll get like 3 hours of coding in. The problem is I don't know what that's going to be. I shouldn't say coding. 3 hours of work in. We might need to do some planning stuff here. Yeah. 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 Anyway, I think we're in good shape. Okay, let's start prepping for mentoring. So mentoring stream prep and mentoring Remy. All right, date today. Why is this? There we go. Hey, Kawaii Pickle. Yeah, corn keyboard. All right, let's look over all the stuff from last session. To be scrolling on Reddit, got annoyed with how things would open a new tab. All right, yeah, nice. How is doom scrolling going? What about Spanish? Curious about all this stuff. Follow up next time. Are you still doom scrolling at all? Yeah, what's your streak up to? How many days ago was this? Days since March 20th. So 35. So Remy could be up to an 83-day streak. 83 question mark? Talked to the manager about future with the company, did expectation setting, happens every year. It's what work is expected to be done. 25% of it is focused on what the individual wants to do. There's still too much work. There's a new person who decides the priorities. Remy has some opinions about this, not in the position to change the direction. Mentioned retiring in 5 years, so someone needs to fill the spot. Said he wanted to discuss it this time around. Manager thinks he's a good fit for the position. Yeah. How is the too much work? Well, I guess is there still too much work? I don't expect this to have changed. 35 days is not a long enough time for there to not be too much work anymore. Doesn't do replacement training. Maybe we should be doing this growth because Remy wants the position. Maybe he's fine doing this. Main takeaway sounds like how his manager won't do personal training for Remy. Manager is okay with training courses, etc. More reason to pursue training every quarter. Yeah. What was the commitment on this? I'm going to write this down for now. Have you committed to some training this quarter? I'm pretty sure I've asked this and I forgot the answer. And I think we might have even talked about it down here. Are there any gaps you have right now you wouldn't be comfortable with today? Negotiations? Yep. Also doesn't know what he doesn't know. General management training courses. Yeah, we talked about general management training courses. Although I think that could be in the future. and balancing the technical trainings versus the management ones. Doesn't do this now. Could you do this? Not sure about doing this right now, maybe in the future. Yep. Study the case toward the end of the 5 years and things are more certain. So they didn't talk about it, but he's confident it would be possible. All right, good to have a supportive manager. Send me on trainings, learn manager skills. Yeah. Okay. Got it. The hardest part is me shutting up and not answering it directly. Yeah, I know, because we'll talk about it pretty soon. Yeah, for those who haven't seen this process before, I have done several sessions with each mentee right now. And I think this one that we're about to do is the 4th session. Yeah, 4th session for Remy. And every session, I read through all the past stuff just to kind of re-solidify in my head where we are. I talked about how the team lacks training. They're moving their infrastructure to the cloud, Azure. Oh, I should also I'll change my Twitch title in a second. Azure DevOps, no one has experience with that. Azure trainings have been made mandatory. I have to do 3 trainings this year. Probably Azure stuff at first. Doesn't know, has to see when he can do it. Senior already took the first of the 3, took an entire week off, loved it. Will you doing more Azure work? Yeah, I said prioritize doing this the next couple months. I would say should almost certainly prioritize doing the first Azure training in the next month, if you haven't already. Also, Remy said there was a bunch of news. I should probably have read the news, but I want to hear Remy deliver it. Contractor just left for the web app. The handoff was this. Needs to finish it this year. Yep. All right. What are the trainings? Fundamentals for developers and DevOps. How do you feel about learning this? Mixed bag. Generally likes learning things. There's also some anxiety. Bigger tech stack. More work. Yeah. How's the anxiety around Azure? You mentioned there being a bigger tech stack and more work. How do we get this under control? And I think part of it is just tackling it from a knowledge perspective of making sure that you can approach the work that you have. Workload is huge. What happens in a few months if there's still too much work? They drop projects at that point. Manager cares about their health. Yeah. Said that your manager would drop projects at some point. Are we at that point yet? And the manager just hasn't dropped them? Deprioritize for virtual route setter. Continue working on this. Wait a second, what? This was session 3? I, for some reason, was under the impression that Remy had stopped working on this. Huh. This. Tried applying this to the daily job. Not team impact, lots of personal impact though. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I like that. Bought a house. How's the house? Still thinking about it. Wants to get back to working on it. Oh, yeah. You had stopped working on this. Got it. Okay. Still be excited about it in a couple months. Did get a lot of momentum from the code jam. Yep. Talk to potential customers. Yeah, okay. Regular body doubling sessions. More productive. Kind of doing this next week. Oh yeah, how did that go? How did the body doubling thing at work go? We're going to be tying 3 software packages together. All of next week they'll be sitting together. You were sitting with other coworkers for a whole week. But that was now like 30 days ago. A small text chat with a mentee to get an update. Other person didn't ask for another session. Follow-up chat, not a proper session. Didn't ask, and Remy didn't want to push for it. Yeah. Have you been in touch with your own mentee outside of work? Wonder if that's moved forward. Mini celebration, negative color cupcake. Retrospective is what's important. Yeah, this was the major takeaway for me. I've been saying this over and over on the stream, but I really think it's important to recognize your own accomplishments because it's easy for us to just gloss over them and be like, well, we didn't do anything and we just need to move on to the next big thing. And you just keep moving from thing to thing to thing to thing. And I thought, oh, if you put in celebrations, that'll make you recognize your accomplishment. But it doesn't. What makes you recognize your accomplishment is a retrospective, not a celebration. And I think the two should be paired together. So, give yourself a negative color cupcake. The reason I keep saying negative color cupcake here is because I have dark reader on. How do I move this? All right, if I turn this off, you'll actually see what the cupcake looked like. It looks like a normal cupcake, albeit with a ton of whipped cream. Remy does not know what a human amount of whipped cream looks like. All right, let's see. And you're feeling better. Things have been better again. Exercising again. Just got the house. Yeah. Let's see. Career directions. Still mentoring the person. Yeah. So these are my main questions for today. We'll paste these in. Yeah, this was session 3, right? Yeah. Okay. Shade being thrown by this man. Hey, you signed up for these sessions. Okay, so that was the most important part of the prep. The rest of the prep is this stuff. So I switched to setting up for mentoring, studio mode. Mentoring. Where is mentoring? There it is. Is it working? Oh, come on. Did they change their URL again? I'm going to be so annoyed. Hey, Physitronic. No, this seems like it should work. Why don't I see it then? Something's wrong. I don't think this is going to work for the session, which is too bad. But I don't know how to fix this. Countdown title size. Refresh cache maybe? Oh, that worked. Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, cool. Whew. Whew. Glad I clicked that button. All right, what else do we have here? So click studio mode, start this stuff, did that. Okay, great. Open Yada. Let's go do that. All right, minimum width. Oh, I have to sign in. All right, well, now I have to open it again. Neat. Yeah, sorry, this always takes a bunch of time. There's some ways that I could try to speed this up in the future, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm doing well. Today has been a good day so far. We've made some good progress on the code. We're about to do career mentoring for Remy. Let's see if I sit up straight. Yeah, nice. Okay, so Yada's done. OBS, Chrome for Google Docs, left half of right monitor. So that's this. Hide the menus, done. Discord, pop out the call. Put this over here. Document, we're done. Set browser zoom to 125% and Google Docs zoom to that. Both of those are done. All right, now set a title. One-on-one career mentoring. Remy, session number 4. Give me a sec. This is my old title. I'll just put this here. Cool. And then edit the today command. Will do. Today is Wednesday. Adam is mentoring Remy. This will be their 4th session together. Cool. All right. So yeah, Remy, do you happen to be free now? I don't mind if we wait. Oh, take down my, oh, this is for interview stuff. Yeah, I don't mind if we wait, but I happen to be free now. Remy's gone. I'll pick him on Discord. I was taking okay, yeah. Yeah, you're free. Okay. Oh, I never shared the Google Docs view. Hang on a sec. I'm not even ready over here. What an amateur. Adam mentoring Remy. Where is this? This, I guess? Yeah, nice. Okay, I'm gonna call up Remy. Chat, let me know if the audio is good, and then once the audio is good, we're just gonna start. I'm assume it's fine because it's been fine every time, but you never know.
Wow, unexpected you to call me, Adam.
We're here, we're on time. You're not a cave goblin because there's light in the room. Oh, wait, I can't hear anymore. You're muted? I heard you at the beginning. That's weird. This isn't a me thing, right? I still can't hear anything. Do you see your picture lighting up? Oh, now it looks like you have no microphone. Yeah, no sound. Yeah, we could hear you at the beginning. How about this? I'll call you right back. Oh, you figured it out? Okay. Bye, Ramy.
So there's this weird issue where
Okay.
when I like launch an application or anything while I have Discord open, my microphone just gets killed for some reason.
Okay. Well, I'm
And then I just
glad.
have to like rejoin the call. It shouldn't happen during the session, but if it does, let me know and I just have to rejoin and
Yeah, yeah,
then it's
yeah.
good again.
As long as we have a fix for it, I think that's fine. All right, so then I'll
Yeah,
kick this off. Um, welcome. This is session number 4. You said you have some news for me, and I have not read anything that you've typed here. So, what is your news?
oh, there's loads of news, Adam. Where do we even start? Okay, let's start with the sad stuff. Virtual route setter. I have not done anything with it again. I
Yeah.
still want to continue it at some point. But just right now, there's too much other stuff going on in life to be able to focus on that and get joy out of it because it's still something I want to enjoy. But if I get home right now, I just want to lay on the couch, play some video game, watch some programming streams. There's this guy called Adam. Don't know if you know him. He's pretty
He's
good.
pretty good. He's a smart cookie.
No, so when I get home, I just don't want to like have to work. Like I want it to be fun. Right now, it doesn't feel like fun. Uh, so that's the update on that, pretty much.
Okay. Well, wait,
Uh,
before we go into that, before we go into the rest of this, I want to expand on the too much other stuff going on. So, do you think this will naturally change, or is it something you're going to need to consciously change?
no, it will naturally change. Like I bought a house, as you know, recently. So I'm trying to sell my house right now. There's just, a lot of my mind, a lot of stress caused because of it. Once everything about that is finished, I'll need to like remodel my home a bit and everything like that. And once everything of that is done, then more free time and more enjoying time should open up for me for sure.
Yeah.
So
Did
it
you?
will come naturally.
Okay. Did you happen to see the latest video I did? I think this last week about my 4.5 month update.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said about transition periods? I'm going to repeat it anyway for all the people who haven't heard, but I want to know if you have the context of this.
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what I had said is that I think transition periods are almost always difficult, even when they're for good things. And in this case, it's like you bought a house, awesome, you feel good about that. You're selling your house, I mean, hopefully you feel good about that. Remodeling seems exciting. And yet you're in a transition period, and it's like, hey, you want to work on virtual route setter, and you feel like you can't right now. Um, it sounds like you have the right view of all of this. So I don't think there's necessarily a problem, but I think it's really worth highlighting that transition periods are tough. So just, keep that in mind as you go through this. And yeah, in a couple months, maybe you'll be in a different state and then you can figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. And indeed, as you said, like I have identified this as indeed as you call it transition period. So I'm not blaming myself for not working on it. Like I'm like, just can't handle it right now, and that's
Yeah.
fine as well. This is also why when I was still working it, I tried to take better notes, keep like an organization chart somewhere of like what I was working on when I left off. So hopefully we'll get to see if that worked out or not. Uh, Sorry, I might be coughing in between quite a lot because I just came back from a flu again. So
No, that's totally fine from a technical perspective, from a health perspective. I'm sorry to hear that.
So yeah, that's about it for this. Actually, the transition period. It's gonna take a while, but it's fine. I am aware of it and I've accepted that. So
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I like what you said about keeping notes so that when you do get back to your code, you can settle right back in. But honestly, even if you hadn't, I think the project was an early enough stage where recouping
yeah,
that context shouldn't have been too bad. So it's a good practice to be in.
that's true. That's very true. Yeah. So the next point on my list is moderating yourself. This is something like not really work related, but something I do in my entire of my human being.
Hmm.
Is I do not know how to moderate myself. Like I do something and I want to go fully for it. Like if you looked at like SR nodes or the speedrunning thing, like virtual route setting. If I work it, I want to like spend all my time on it. If I don't, I spend no time on it. If I go climbing, I want to climb for like 6 hours. Like I don't do just half an hour. If I eat food, I want to eat everything and not just half of it. Uh, and most of the time, this is a good thing, but not always. We had this. So I'm in the first 8 respondents team of my work,
Hmm.
and there's this yearly competition we do, and I always like I go for victory. There's like a little competition going on. You can score points, and it's very fun to do. Uh, but I am not the how do you call it, the team leader of my group.
Yeah.
And after the thingy, the team leader came to me. He was like, "Yeah, like your knowledge really good, your enthusiasm really good." He's like, "You try to be like the leader, you know." And he's like, "That should be me. It should be coming from me. But like, try to moderate yourself, and like leave that to me, because it becomes confusing for everyone else. If you
Yeah.
also step in and I got a big mouth, I'll shout something like, 'Hey, can you do that?' And he's like, I should be the one doing that." Uh, and this is just something I find really hard in everything I do is moderating myself. I always just like fully go for it, which sometimes oversteps my boundaries because of it, or it affects me otherwise negatively. Uh,
Well,
so do you
so
have anything on that?
yeah, first of all, how did you feel when this person who was the leader asked, "Hey, do you mind toning that down so that, the leadership structure is clear?"
I think that was fair, especially like looking at the entirety of the team. It is better to have just one contact point and no like confusion as who is doing what. So I think that's totally fair. But on the other hand, I'm also thinking, which I told him, like, there's also a reason I started doing it because you weren't doing it. At least not. I
Ah,
felt like he wasn't really, like he was at some point he was like just standing a bit on the side. I was like, hey, this needs to be done, and he didn't, give any instructions. So I was like, I'll just say tell someone to do it.
I see. Okay, so the way I
But
look
then
at
you
this
know what
is,
I yeah.
oh, you first, you first.
So, but then what I should have done is go to him, tell him like, "Hey, should someone do this?" And then he should have been the one giving the instructions. So
Yeah,
I think it is fair feedback that he gave.
yeah. Um, I think there are two parts to this. Uh, Part one is the going all in, and part two is this particular situation. So
Yeah,
they may or may not be related. Like wanting to compete and being able to spend 6 hours doing rock climbing are maybe similar, but like, I don't know. I think this particular situation, that's why I asked you at first, how do you feel when this person did confront you about this? And it sounds like you got the right attitude here. Yes, it was fair what they said. And you also had a valid point, and maybe you could have communicated it in a different way. So, as far as I'm concerned, this situation sounds like it was good, it was handled. The way you described this yourself, part one here, going all in, is that it's a good thing most of the time. So, in your mind, if you don't see this as a problem, you're not ever going to try addressing it. The things that you see as problems are things like this situation that arise from it, maybe, but that are different and can be addressed differently. So, do you typically see problems from going all in on something?
no, but at some point it also becomes destructive. I feel like, like for example with climbing, I just push myself too far. If I go out with an all-out dinner with friends, so like as a stupid example, I ate too much and I always eat myself like until I get sick, basically. So there's like niche points where I feel like my going all in becomes destructive almost.
Okay, and what is motivating you in the moment? So, going rock climbing for, let's say, an hour, okay, healthy. Going rock climbing for 12 hours, maybe not healthy. What's going through your head at hour number 3 or hour number 6?
So much fun, like especially when like more people join in, and I just get so much joy of like being around people, climbing together, doing something together. And I just can't seem to like, okay, we've had enough fun, we gotta quit now.
Okay, so in the moment you're having fun. This kind of comes down to how I feel when I'm coding on stream. I I need to take breaks. And it's not something I want to do in the moment, but it's something that I've seen the hazardous effects enough where I just know that it's a thing I have to do. So it never feels like the right thing, but I think you're going to need to do something like that for something like rock climbing, at least, where, yeah, like I said, rock climbing itself is not unhealthy, but doing it for too long, doing it without breaks, you could probably still have fun and just talk to your friends on the side, or, I don't know, whatever, commentate as they're climbing. Yeah, I think you need to
Plenty
inject
of that,
breaks.
yeah.
Does that sound reasonable for rock climbing at least?
Yeah, it's something I try, but really suck at. I'll be like, and I even tell everyone that say like, oh no, like I'm just gonna stand on the sides now. And like 10 minutes later, I'll be putting on my shoes and I'm back on the wall, and they're like, weren't you not gonna climb? And I was like, yeah, I guess.
Okay,
So
so
I try to do this, but I can't force myself to do it.
I would say try setting a timer. I don't know how long is a good enough break, so you figure out what the timer should be set to. But if 10 minutes is not enough, seriously try for like 15 minutes and just say, I am not going to climb for this time. And this is essentially a homework assignment I got from my mentor. But otherwise, I think you run into a case where you look back afterward and you say, wow, I did something wrong. I really need to change something. But then in the moment, there's no indication that something's wrong.
Yeah.
This is probably pain that only hits you, I'm guessing, afterward, or feeling like
Yeah,
yeah. So, okay. So that's climbing. Let's look at eating now. You said you go out with friends, you eat a lot. What situation are we in for that?
I mean, it's just one of the examples. But yeah, if you go like sometimes we go out to this like all you can eat thing, and like we're having fun, and I'm just eating and talking and eating and talking. And I'm like, oh, my tummy starts to hurt, and it's like, oh, this also looks really nice, and like just getting joy out of something makes it so I can't stop basically. And I'm normally not that big of an eater,
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, I can do it this once, it's gonna be fine. And at the end of the evening, I'll be like, oh, my stomach hurts.
Okay. Well, there's another consideration here, which is that, if this were happening literally every single day, it's probably an issue, right? But like celebrating or being with friends or having an occasional thing and then, I don't know, having a stomach ache afterward, it sounds like it's already in moderation. Although,
Yeah, and I mean, like this isn't an issue per se. It was just one of the examples to like illustrate how I'm bad at moderating. But this just comes down to like basically everything. Right? Like I always try to push things too far until it starts becoming an issue. And
yeah,
like I'm really bad at recognizing like where is this boundary of, hey, Remy, if you don't stop now, it's gonna affect you negatively.
and so this is where I wanted to find out what's going through your head, and you explained it. In both of these situations, you're liking what you're doing, but
Yeah,
then too much of it leads to something bad eventually. And so in the rock climbing
yeah,
case, it's like, okay, I think just taking breaks could be fine, and possibly setting a maximum amount of time that ramps up over the course of however long. So if you haven't been climbing in a month, probably starting with 6 hours is bad, even if you're taking breaks. But pushing things too far, like I said, if your viewpoint is such that it's mostly a helpful thing and that you're enjoying yourself, then you won't ever kind of naturally change this. And I don't know where else in your life this is problematic. So, is there another example you have where it's leading to some negative result repeatedly?
I mean, yeah, basically when I've seen it also when I play a new game, for example. Like I get quite addictive fast, where like okay, I'll not be doing anything else but playing that game at that point because it's so much fun. Or like if I got a new coding project, I'll just be spending all my time on that until it isn't fun anymore.
Okay. Um, with a game, exhausting the fun is totally fine because there's so many games out there. With a coding project, that could be a problem where you're motivated for a bit and then you exhaust the fun of the project and you're like, I'll just give up on the project. And you have talked to me in the past about it's hard to do the last bits of a project. Although I think these are slightly unrelated problems at this point. I think the important thing I would say is keep an eye on where there are, I guess, kind of actual problems here. So playing a game for a while, again, I don't think it's an actual problem if you're doing this for a couple days or a week or something. But if a whole year went by and you were just like, I'm just so into this game, like I can't stop playing
Yeah,
it.
no, it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's like the borderline debilitating at that point. So it really it doesn't sound like there's an issue here, and this is just kind of your personality type. So yeah, I would just say keep an eye on this. And with the climbing
Yeah,
stuff, like definitely you've already identified there is a need to take breaks. I'm even saying I'll take breaks and then I just don't take them. So yeah, maybe consider that.
set a timer. Got it.
Yeah. And then I would say if there is a real problem, then we can start applying boundaries. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the moderating yourself front?
No, I think that was it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so doom scrolling.
Yep. Duolingo streak, 81, not 83. I
81. Yeah,
checked it just now.
I don't know how I got that. Yeah.
I think I gave a rough estimate last time. I think I was off by
Oh, it's
2.
your fault. Okay.
So yeah, no, definitely my fault.
I'm joking. But yeah.
No, that's fine. So yeah, still my Duolingo streak. Still enjoying it. Some of the days I get on just to do like, keep my streak going. They're really good at that gamification thing.
mhm.
But most of the days I try doing more than just to one thing because I actually want to learn it. Uh, I still want to like upgrade myself to, I think I said last time I want to play like a Pokemon game in Spanish. That's like a goal to, get out of Duolingo and more into like applicable stuff. But I'm like waiting until our friend starts playing that game just so we like play it together and have some extra
Yeah.
motivation. So yeah, that's where my Duolingo streak is at. I still grab my phone way more often than I want to, but
hmm
I'm not going on Reddit anymore, which I think is a huge plus because of their awful AI update, UI update, I must say.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're really putting the heavy weight on that one, which is great because that was one of my main things last month. Like I want to, stay clear of Reddit because it's just eating up so much time. So basically, what I do now is I grab my phone and I just scroll through all the 10 discords I'm in, even though I know there's going to be no message, and I just throw my phone away.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to back up a second here. So I thought in the last one, okay, yeah, the UI thing was the thing that you mentioned last time. You're talking about opening in a new tab, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to just write this for myself here. This is the new tab thing. I see this behavior in myself as well, where you've limited the time wasting activities that you can do. And so now you bounce between all the ones that you've allowed yourself to do. And you're hoping
Yeah.
for something new. This is the dopamine hit you would have gotten by scrolling through Reddit and seeing, is there something new? Is there something valuable? Is there something interesting? And now you're looking through a bunch of different discords. I'm not exactly sure what to do about this because in my mind, it's eventually you run out of that content. And if you run out of that content, that can be a trigger for you to do something different. But if you never ran out, or if there was a trickle of something coming in, then you might be stuck there. So do you have a screen time measurement on your phone, or something that measures how long you're in apps or anything? That
No, I didn't get like this overview at the end of the week when it says like, oh, you used your phone 10 minutes more or less than last week. That's it.
okay. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea to set something like that up. Do you have an iPhone, an Android phone?
Android.
Android. Okay, yeah. So I have a widget actually on my home screen that I can just see at any given time how much have I spent on the screen that day, and then it shows the top 3 apps. And I mean, sometimes it's surprising because it's like, oh, I don't know, watching a YouTube video for longer than I thought. But at the very least, it gives you a gauge for how much is too much. And then from there, you can figure out, do you want to do something about it? Um, yeah, I unfortunately don't have a lot of concrete stuff because, like I said, I exhibit the same behavior. And then eventually I do get bored and I'm like, okay, I need to get up. So I think you need to hit the boredom point. Yeah. To trigger wanting a new behavior. Consider trying a screen time app.
I'm gonna
Android.
scare myself into not opening it.
Yeah, Android should have one built in, I think. And then I think from there, it's setting what is healthy or reasonable to you. I mean, some people, if you're spending 4 hours on your phone every day, they could consider that to be fine. Maybe that's replacing TV for them or something. Um, what do you think is your unhealthiest phone behavior right now?
Yeah, I so I don't have a concrete number in it. I would like it to be just the necessities, like getting a message, replying to that, opening it for my navigation or playing music. I would like to just use it for the necessary stuff and not for any entertainment purposes.
So,
And I am a bit loose with messaging with like including Discord, which I guess is more entertainment, but like I want to have purpose when I use my phone, basically,
yeah,
instead of idling away on it.
yeah, I see that. And like you presumably watch YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Do you do that on your phone? Do you do that on your computer?
I noticed that I started doing it more since I stopped doing Reddit on my phone.
Yeah, so
But I
that's
try to limit that to doing it just on my laptop because then, when I'm on my laptop, I feel like, that's just me time. Like I'm purposefully on the laptop to enjoy myself. But then I think like, it's fine to just constantly scroll Discord or YouTube.
yeah.
And when I use it on my phone, it's to, kill like 2 minutes between building times or whatever. And that's something I want to get rid of.
Yeah, I think it's tough because we have a need for some amount of just kind of mindless activity. And it's very easy with how apps are set up and how sites are set up to get sucked into that mindless activity for longer than you expect. You know, a 2 minute
Hmm.
build time, the build gets done, and then you're halfway through a 5 minute video or something. And you're like, I'll just finish the video. But then there's a new video that pops up. So I think there will always be a replacement activity. And I've heard different things from different people about this. Some people moderate usage of the site itself. So they'll have like a firewall level block where they can't go to it anymore. I don't know if it needs to be something like that. I think, look, maybe part of this has to do with you being in a transition period, coming home from work and being like, I just don't want to do anything. So I would kind of just keep an eye on this for the next couple months.
Yeah, but like I think sitting at home in the evening, being on YouTube, I think that's fine because that's like purposeful relaxation at that point for YouTube. It's just like in between something than like watching like a 1 minute video to feel that 1 minute rather than like just being bored and staring at your screen for nothing.
Yeah. So the in between phases, you're saying, how when does this usually happen? Is it when code is building?
Whenever I'm like not doing anything, like I'll stand in the elevator, like going down to my apartment, be like, oh, I've got like a minute of standing here, better grab my phone to do something.
Okay. Okay.
There's like like a 30-second ad roll the YouTube video I'm watching, so I grab my phone and I scroll through Discord instead. It's those little like 1-2 minute periods of time
Hmm.
that I can't just be standing in the elevator and stare at the wall anymore. I feel like, and I feel like I should be able to do it. I shouldn't be so addicted to my phone that like for this 1 minute, I think it's worth my time to scroll through Discord instead.
Okay. So the replacement behavior you could try is something around mindfulness and meditation. But I will say this, phones were essentially made to be addictive. So
Yeah.
you succumbing to it is not a failure on your part necessarily.
No, but I do hate it.
Well, yeah, and so that's where I'm saying I think the replacement activity here for these, minute here and there, you're not talking about in the evening when you're purposely setting aside the time to watch it.
No, no.
I think for that it is like I am going to pay attention to what's around me. And I think there are some like exercises I've tried in the past that I think are kind of interesting. One of them is to just think about what's around you in a way you never would normally think about it. So for example, walking outside and saying, how many colors do I see right now? That's something that you need to pay attention. It's probably not a question you've ever answered in your life in terms of like, yeah, hey, I'm walking down the street and I see like green on the tree over there and blue in the sky and whatever. Someone's wearing a red shirt. That's a way of just having you be in the moment and noticing things. And from there, that could lead to other things. So I'd say like start taking a look into this and maybe with your nighttime YouTube watching that you do, find a couple of videos on mindfulness or meditation and just being in the moment. Yeah. How many colors am I seeing right now? I want to write this down just to get you to be in the moment.
How do we define color here? Or like look at the full RGB spectrum and
Yep.
define every hex
I
code,
want,
or
I want, you can have plus or minus 5 in the hex codes, but yeah, then they're a distinct color after
then
that.
that's it. Okay,
So enumerate every single color you see.
and name them.
Yep. So consider watching YouTube videos on mindfulness in the evenings. This is something I think a lot of people struggle with though. And I think it's something that it doesn't come naturally. People do not like turning their brains off, even though I think that's what's healthiest at sometimes. And if you try ramping up too quickly with meditation, it'll feel boring and probably tiresome. So my wife just last night went to a meditation like class or something, and she thought it was gonna be half an hour. And when she found out it was gonna be an hour, she basically fell asleep during the class. So it sort of defeats the purpose of mindfulness if you're literally asleep. But she did say it helped clear her brain. So that sort of thing helps, and it's just hard to get us into that practice. It's sort of like when you're climbing and you want to just keep going. So
Yeah.
I think this would be good to look into. I think your entire being is going to fight this.
Yeah, or fully embrace it, because like I can also see myself getting into this, and now I'll be watching 4 hours of mindfulness videos every day, until like it takes over everything again because I can't moderate things.
I, I,
Like that's
yeah, I
the
doubt
other
it. And
pitfall.
and also watching mindfulness videos is not the same as being mindful. In fact, I think they're two very different things. So if you somehow are just literally sitting there facing a white wall for 4 hours and just thinking, I have nothing going on in my head right now, then who
Then
knows?
just turn around.
Yeah, maybe that turns out to be a good thing. But either way, I would say at least try introducing some of this behavior and seeing where it takes you, because I think this could do good things for you. So yeah.
Yeah.
We should track how this is going. Yeah. Okay, celebration. Reminder for Remy to upload a celebration picture. I'm guessing this
Yes.
reminder did not actually come to
No, it does
fruition.
work because I'm getting reminders right now because I did celebrate
Okay.
buying a house. And I also took the feedback. There were some complaints about too much whipped cream and stuff like that. So I made it so you can see the cupcake this time.
Did you put this in negative color so that in dark reader would be good? Also, is
I
this
did.
whipped? This is whipped cream with a cupcake on top. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
I mean, it's to stop the complaints about not seeing the cupcake under the whipped cream. But yeah, this is how I celebrated buying a house.
Oh boy. Okay, well, look, I was just mentioning this beforehand, and you might have heard me say this, but I think celebrations are important, and I think they should be kind of tied with retrospectives. So how about we run through a mini one right now? What was the difficulty that you overcame in getting this house? What are the stresses that you've overcome that you've gotten through? How has your life changed as a result?
Oh man, I don't think I have overcome them yet. No, the hardest thing was like seeing the house and just having to go for it like the next morning. There was like no thinking about it. There was no time to think about it because otherwise the house would have been snatched under my nose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just going for it is something to be proud of. Not having kept back with like a million doubts in my head. Like, am I gonna enjoy living here? Can I afford it? Can I? I mean, being able to afford it is quite important. I did think about that. But just going for it, and we'll see where it ends up. I guess normally I try to be really cautious with everything I do, and think things through, and make sure of everything, and check every little detail. But there was, you know, no not much of that going here.
Okay, to me, that represents a mental shift that I think is actually important. And I don't know if a cupcake to you represents that mental shift. This is why I think the
It
retro
keeps it upside down, so I
it
mean,
is
maybe.
upside down. That's true. So it's like turning your mentality upside down. Um, I really think it's good. There are times when we need to act, and they're in different ways than what we normally do. And buying a house is one of those examples where it's not just a purchase; it's a huge purchase. It's something that you're going to
Yeah.
commit to for typically years. I think the average amount of time is like 7 years to stay in a house or something. So it sounds like you're happy with the house. It sounds like there's remodeling you want to do, which will happen after you've sold the last place you were in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So now, how do you feel you're better equipped to do this next time around?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I am. I think it'll be the same next time. I hope to not have to buy another house again. To be fair, but yeah, no, I guess I guess I'll be able to better answer this once we're like through the moving phase and everything, and I'm living there. Because then we know how it panned out. Maybe I'll be homeless next month because I actually couldn't end up doing it.
Well, I hope that's not the case. And if so,
This mentoring session is now from under a bridge.
yeah, I think we'll have to buy you more cupcakes in that case. Um, yeah, I hope this ends up going well for you. And the part about being better equipped, yes, I think hindsight is 2020, and you can look back and
Yeah.
say, here are the mistakes I made, and here are the things I did well, and maybe not even well informed. They just happen to be mistakes or successes. But my point is, I think there's something to learn from practically everything, and you've probably learned a lot in this experience, and it's just not over yet, and so it's still swirling around in your head. So we'll give the dust time to settle, and then we'll see
Yeah.
what happened through this.
I've learned that selling a house is way bigger hell than buying one. I thought buying one was bad, but man, selling one is even worse.
Yeah, how so?
Yeah. Oh, there's so much. I had like a 300 questions questionnaire to fill out about my own house, and I was like, do I? Do I know this? Do I have a roof? It
Wow,
was
yeah.
it was it was a lot. Yeah.
And did you get through all that so far? I know you haven't sold the
Yeah,
place,
yeah,
but you got through all the questions and everything.
yeah. I had to fill in all the questions to like be able to put it for sale. But there's like, I live in an apartment complex, so like half the information I didn't even have. So I'm like,
Mm.
where do I even get this information? And like chase down all the information and stuff like that. So there was a bit of a chase.
Yeah, these are, you know, it's like I've talked to a friend before. I don't know if you heard that interview I did with Amanda, but she said that when she's body doubling, she does adult things, as in like paying taxes or
Yeah,
figuring out
yeah,
answers to
yeah.
these
I heard.
questions. And it's like the things we don't plan to do, but they need to be done, and someone's got to do them. And usually, you're the only one on the hook for buying a house or selling a house. So, yeah, hard to get someone else to join in on that.
Yeah, that's the part. Like, you have to do it all yourself. Like, I don't have a partner either, so like it's literally just me and forcing myself to do all this boring adult stuff, as you mentioned. Yeah, that's Was a challenge at times.
Yeah, but that's the important part, right? Recognizing it was a challenge and that you overcame it. And that's what I think
Yeah,
the cupcake represents. So the next
yeah.
time you bite into a celebratory cupcake, just remember I am a changed Remy. I can do things I couldn't do before. Anyway, moving on. So you've got training listed here.
Yeah. So I actually doing my AZ 900 tomorrow and on Friday.
What
So that's like
what
the Azure Basics training, I think it's called.
what was the term you said?
I think it, like yeah, they got like these wacky codes for it. I
Oh,
think
it's
it's
a
called
code.
like
Oh, never mind, never
AZ
mind. I just
900 or
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. It's like the Azure fundamentals. 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So yeah, I have that planned for tomorrow and for Friday. So I'm actually getting started with the trainings. Not just talking about I need to do more trainings, but actually getting hands on.
And
And
what brought this about? What got you to schedule it for the end of April, which I guess is now tomorrow and Friday?
yeah, my senior colleague, he did a training last month, and he came back feeling really well about it. So I was like, okay, I just need to get it over with and plan something right now. So like he came back, he talked to me about it, and right then, right there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna plan my training right now. Stop writing about it and the lost time and whatnot and whatever else is going on, but just do it. So and
Okay.
then when I had signed up, there was no backing out. So that was basically it.
Okay. Yeah. And I know I can't ask you about how the training went because it's tomorrow, but I,
Right.
you expressed hesitation about the amount of work, the breadth of technologies now that you're using. Are you still feeling some anxiety about this? Do you think the training will help?
Uh, yes, I still feel the anxiety, but yes, I also think that the training will probably help
Yeah.
because now it's like, I don't know the unknown. I think it's a lot of work, but maybe like once I do get into it, it's not as much work. But I only know when I see it. So
Yeah. I really think that the training will put a dent in that at the very least because right now Azure is just this large blob of technologies, and it's hard to pierce that and to figure out, okay, where do I start? How do I start piecing this together? And this training is specifically for people in your position. It's like you said, it's the fundamentals, right? So
yeah,
yeah, what are the concepts? How do I start? And then there are two other trainings you said you had to do by the end of the year. Given that your colleague did the first and liked it, do you think you might schedule the second one on your own? What's your plan for scheduling those?
yeah. So I looked into directly scheduling the other ones as well, but they weren't available when I checked. Unless I had to like fly to Canada to do it or whatever. And my manager's like, "Nah, we ain't doing that."
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I'll probably just schedule those once they open up. Like I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay. And ideally, this first training is a good enough experience where you feel more intrinsically motivated to do this because I know you talked to your colleague. The colleague really liked it, said it was great. I'm sure you'll have a good time. Wait, by the way, didn't your colleague say it was like a week long?
Yeah, but he did another like he did like the follow up training basically.
Oh, okay. Are you
But like
gonna do
even
that?
like him just talking about the general going on the training and enjoying it and coming back from it, like like it was useful. Was the incentive for me to like, okay, I need to get started on my trainings now.
Yeah. Are you forced to do that follow up training?
Uh, well, not forced. Our manager doesn't really force us, but it is one that's I don't know what it was, but it will be relevant for my work. So yeah, I will probably end up doing the same one.
Okay, yeah. And it just happens to be that your colleague did it all pretty much back to back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to know how this all goes. I definitely want to talk about, I'll just write this down for myself here. Find out how the training went and what you learned and what impact it had on your work. So you said that you inherited a web app, I believe, from an old coworker, right? And that
Yeah.
this was it already using Azure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He made it using Azure.
Yeah. And so I think this should give you some clarity into what's going on there. And I really do think this will be like you're entering a dark room and you've now turned on the light and you're like, oh my God, I can actually make sense of what's in this room. I think that's what's going to happen here. And then I think that'll also spark the desire to learn more about this. I know you said you naturally want to learn, but these are massive things and you have a lot on your plate right now. So yeah, I'm hoping it works out. How is the rest of your work going? It was one of the specific questions I had, which is that your manager said you would drop projects eventually. Is everyone still feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, even more so than last time because like, personal stress levels are also just higher. Like everything going on has definitely influenced my work negatively, as in like I'm just not as efficient at work. And I also talked to my manager. I told him like, hey, got this buying, selling house stuff going on. Like my mind is just completely somewhere else but work most of the time. So we just said, well, which ones can you not work on right now? And I'm not working on one of my projects right now. So
Okay.
like I'll have to pick it up eventually, of course. But for now, I take more hours off, and he's fine with like, there's also personal life, work isn't everything. So if there's stuff you can't do, just let us know, and we'll see if it needs to get transferred to someone else, or if we can keep it for later.
Yeah. It's good that your manager's understanding. You mentioned, at least I think you mentioned at the beginning, that it's not just you who's overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, the entire team is
Yeah.
still. Like we did our year planning a couple of weeks ago, and I think so, like we had like 2 times the amount of hours we have in our team in Access or something that we already have to scrape.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think it's good that your manager is dropping one of these projects. I think it's almost unfortunate that it's coming about as a result of the home buying and selling process being difficult because it sounds like when you did this planning and you discovered, hey, we are double booked, everybody is on everything for the rest of the year, right? You do year-long planning. It sounds
Yeah.
like that's the moment when you say, okay, we're going to drop some of these things. Because otherwise, I think what happens is a lot of companies do something like an OKR process where they come up with objectives and they come up with key results for those objectives. And you might have done something similar without calling it that. But at the end of some period of time, a quarter or a year, you sort of score yourself based on what you'd set out to do. And in this case, you give everybody twice the amount of work that they can handle. So at the end of this scoring period, I think you called it expectation setting. And I don't know if they really give you a performance report or anything, but they might say, well, you still have, 60% of your work left. Well, 60% of your work left when you had double the amount of work assigned to you is actually not too bad. So is this going to impact everybody in the future at your company? Or is there going to be some performance
Mm,
evaluation based on this?
no, not really. When they do performance, they really just look at like what did you do like in the allotted time.
Yeah.
And it's not like okay, we had these things planned out, but you didn't finish two of them, so you only did 60% of your work. No, like as far as I've been right now, they're like, okay, nice, you managed to do this and this in only this amount of time, so that's good. So they really take up, at least my manager takes a really positive approach to that.
Okay. Won't be impacted by assigning
Because like
to.
he is very aware of the time struggles we have and the amount of workload we have. So like even during the work plan, he already dropped a bunch of stuff, and he's just like, we'll see how far we get with what we got. But like if we got the time, these are the ones we should prioritize. Like it's I think just saying that like he has set prioritization is more fair than saying like he has said these projects need to be finished.
Okay, that is totally reasonable then. Um, yeah, for each project. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think it's pretty normal in any really any size company, I guess, to have more tasks than you have time. And as long as you are not expected to get more tasks done than you can in a given amount of time, then it's okay. So if you have,
Yeah, I feel like
400,
that's where we're
yeah,
at.
yeah. And it sounds like that's the case. And so, but yeah, the way you described it was everyone's feeling overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
that is even with these considerations that you've said. So where is that feeling coming from?
I think we all are just really motivated to try and help as much people as possible. So we try, we probably, you know, take on too much ourselves as well because we want to help as many people as possible. So I think, a lot of it is also just coming from ourselves where we just take on too much.
Okay. It's interesting that the whole team feels that way though, because this is a very personal thing, which is what's motivating you, how are you doing this? And yet, if the team feels this way, then it's almost a cultural shift where everyone feels that same pressure. And it could be motivated by seeing other people do this.
And like I have to say, like I'm just guessing. I don't know their
Oh, I
personal
see.
motivations at all. But I feel like when I talk with my colleagues, I was like, we actually want to help people. So I feel like it is also motivation for them, but I can't look inside their heads. So just as a caveat there.
Okay. Okay, so guesses aside, it really doesn't matter if everybody's feeling overwhelming, everyone's feeling overwhelmed. It matters that you're feeling overwhelmed. So you have talked to your manager and you've temporarily dropped a project for now. Does that give you the headroom you need to be able to do work and feel good about it and then come home and feel good about the things you're doing at home?
Uh, Not really, I think, because I do guilt trip myself a bit, and I feel like, oh, like you could have done more today. Whenever I get home, I'm like, I'm already getting so much leeway, with having dropped work already. I'm still not fulfilling my own expectations, but that's just me always not moderating myself, still trying to do as I would normally without extra things going on.
Yeah, this is 100% the transition period I was mentioning. I think this is like the celebrations that I said. It's not just buying a cupcake, it's analyzing what led to this cupcake. And in this case, it's not just saying I'm in a transition period, it's now not tampering, excuse me, tamping down your expectations so that they're not the same as what they were. And it's actually accepting that. So it's one thing to say, okay, I recognize I'm in a transition period, so I should not be doing as much work. But then if you still feel guilt at the end, it means you don't really believe that you shouldn't be doing as much work. So this will sound really blunt, but like you need to get it through your head that you do not need to do as much right now. That is why your manager has given you some leeway here. You can take advantage of it, and knowing that you will get back to quote unquote normal at some point. So yeah, do you have any more insight into how this guilt is coming about here? Why do you have these expectations on yourself?
It's how I am, I think. I've always, set really high expectations for myself in anything I do. I always strive, for the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
And not accepting that, or at least not reaching that, is unacceptable to me.
Okay. Think of what's happening in this alternative. So you feel that you're not reaching your expectations. And so now what's the result? And essentially, in my view, it's that you're punishing yourself, but there's no other result, right? It's not that your work is suffering or that your manager has said, maybe you're really not pulling your weight around here or something, right? Like, are you getting that kind of feedback
No,
at work?
that's true.
It,
No, not really.
yeah. So, in essence, within your own head, you've created a prison for yourself where you need to get all the house stuff done, you need to do all the work stuff, and you need to still like go above and beyond expectations and using what time and energy? It's time and energy that you don't have, which is why you're not able to meet these expectations because it's going into other things. So, I think it's really important to internalize this. Yeah. And let me write down some thoughts for a sec. So, um, maybe if there are indications of any negative results. You said no, it's yeah, mostly in your head. Um, what if this continued for 6 months? I'm just asking a hypothetical here to see what would happen. Let's say that the home buying and selling process is, for whatever reason, I'm not going to come up with why, still happening 6 months from now. What do you think would happen at work?
Hard to say. I don't think too much, to be fair.
Yeah.
Mm. You know, yeah, I probably not too much. People around me are very understanding of personal situation and stuff like that. So
And
maybe at the end of the year, my review would be slightly lower than my average,
yeah.
but probably not by a lot.
Okay. And now let's flip this scenario. Let's say someone else were in this situation and let's say you knew about it. So someone else is buying a house and for 2 months they're like, hey, look, I'm sorry, I can't do as much as I used to do. Would you feel judgment toward them at all?
No, not at all.
Okay. So
But I put way lower expectations on other people than I do on myself.
yeah. And it's easy to do. And it's like we judge other people by their actions and we judge ourselves by our intentions. I think in this case, it's very much a case of considering yourself to be somebody else for the sake of your expectations. Like if I were somebody else and I were in this situation, I would not have these expectations on them. I just wouldn't. And like I said, easier said than done, but I think recognizing that you're doing well, you're managing everything, sounds like pretty well. Yeah, that there are no real repercussions. So the guilt is not a healthy force in this case. And I've said this a bunch of times in the past. I find that guilt is rarely a healthy force. There's probably some like edge case scenario where, yeah, feeling a little bit guilty about something gets you to, I don't know, apologize to somebody else. And it's like, okay, cool. You apologize to them, you made a situation better, and guilt maybe did that, so fine. But yeah, most of the time in these situations, I don't think it's actually doing anything for you. So I'll try to think about this some more and come up with maybe some more concrete things, because at a high level, it's recognize that this is your reality and internalize it. All right. Uh, yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I think we went over it all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, let's move on then. Uh,
Yeah, so more official trainings. We already kind of covered that I'll be
yeah.
doing more Azure training later this year. Management focused training, I signed up for it and they open up after summer. So there's this, personal growth program thingy where you can say like, hey, this is something I want to work on. Uh, what do you want to work on? Basically, and these open up after summer again. So one of the things I want to indicate in that is that I'm really bad at giving people bad news and like saying no to them. We won't do that, which of course is something you need to be able to do if you want to go to like a managerial role. So I'm just internalizing for myself, like, hey, what are the kinds of things I need to be able to do that I can't do now that people can help me in this training. It's like a 3 day long training back to back to back with like some professionals that help you with these kind of things.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, I want to applaud you earlier. I thought when we talked about this in the last session that you hadn't signed up for that first Azure training, but I recognize that that was a big step for you because you recognized the need for training, and yet you kept thinking, well, I don't want to take the time to do it. I don't want to take the time to do it. And I'm now realizing that these problems are very related. The not wanting to take the time to do the training is feeling like, well, what's going to happen with my work expectations? And it's the same thing with while you're going through all this house stuff now, what's going to happen with my work expectations? And you keep thinking, I'll just keep doing the same level of work, even though I have these other obligations. So it's good that you've done this. It's good that you signed up for this too. Is this a case of you also not being able to back out now? Do you have a set date?
No, there's no date yet. I
Okay.
can
Yeah.
still back out of this if I want to,
Okay.
but it is also on my year expectation.
Yeah.
So I've said to my manager, like, hey, I want to do it this year. And he said, okay, but it's going to be in your year expectation. If you don't do this, it will be a negative score in your review, basically.
Yeah. And I don't think that's going to be a problem because I think this is a training you actually want to do and that you've signed up. And so it's just a matter of finding the time at this point. I think this will help quite a lot. I think that you mentioned this earlier with the house stuff. There's a lot of unknowns, and unknowns can be scary because you don't know how deep they are. And I don't think, I mean, you could take every management training in the world and you still wouldn't be prepared for your first day on the job or your 100th day on the job or the first time you have to fire somebody. It's just very different from it is in a sterilized setting, a simulation of everything that you have. So I think these will at least cut down on the hesitation you have or any anxiety you have around management. And I know we're still probably, it sounds like 5 years off from this. Yeah. But I think it's good that you're starting this now and you're taking a look. So really pat yourself on the back. I think this is worth 6 cupcakes. Um,
Inverse or not inverse?
no, regular cupcakes. Let's not go too crazy here. Um, yeah, no, I think it's good. And I think it's good you're signing up for this. And that could potentially lead to more trainings. It'll at least let you figure out what are your gaps and where do you want to pursue after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, stress levels at an all-time high, taking time off when sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we basically covered most of this, but like working from home is terrible for getting sick. Normally, I'd be like, okay, sick, can't go to work because I'll infect people or whatnot. I'll just sit at home and I can't work, so I'll just watch TV all day. And now I'm like, I'm sick, but hey, I got my laptop here, I can work. So I'll just, don't work as I don't expect myself to work as efficiently as normally, but I just don't lay on couch all day and watch TV and get better.
Okay. Hold on a second. So you said it, the first part. I I think I got the message backwards. You mentioned being at home watching TV. Uh, Ideally, there's some level of sickness you hit where you're just not doing work, and I think what you're saying is now that you can work from home, that there is no such level of sickness. You'll just always try to work through
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
I used to be, back when like working from home wasn't as much a thing with companies as it is now. I'd get sick and I couldn't come to work because, either I'd felt too shitty to travel or, I'd be afraid of like, contaminating other people. So I'd be like, okay, I've got to stay at home, not just for the betterment of myself, but of everyone else. And traveling will be exhausting. I don't want to do that. And then I just physically couldn't work because I wouldn't have a work laptop at home or something.
Yeah,
And then it'd be fine. I just lay on the couch, wasting my hours away. And
I
that's
got you.
fine because you can't do anything else. But now my laptop is there, and I'm like, there's no hurt in just having it open there. If they get a team message, I'll reply to it. If I get an email, I'll reply to it. If I got an hour where I'm feeling a bit chipper, I'll just work on something for a bit.
So, okay, I think there's a difference between replying to a message, let's say, maybe something super important, and putting in an hour of work. But it's becoming more and more clear to me that I think you really need to cut yourself some slack, Remy. Like most people when they're sick, it's like, okay, this is a good reason to take time off of work. You're again, I hope this doesn't sound blunt. You're not the CEO of this company. It's not you who is on the line for making all this money and keeping people at their jobs. And I know you have work to do and I know those are obligations, but you're essentially sacrificing yourself to do this stuff. And there's a limit to that. And you're hitting it. I mean, this bullet point you've written out here, stress levels have been at an all-time high. That is the repercussion for pursuing things this way. So I think you need a break. You need to cut yourself some slack. Remy needs to cut himself some slack, and then put a star next to this. Yeah.
And I think this also ties up like back into the moderation thing, where like I always feel like I have to go for it 100%. There's no doing things 50% in my life, basically.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now I'm beginning to see how this all ties together. And like I said, I think cutting yourself slack is important. I think there's sort of an easy way to rationalize this, that maybe this will have an impact, maybe not. If you look at this as conditional, if I am healthy, then I can go my usual, go all in on everything. But if I'm in any period where there are variables affecting this, then I have to stop. All we have to do is just add a little fork in that logic, and that's it. Because really, is there a problem if you're working, if you weren't going through all the stress you're going through in your personal life, if there weren't all these projects, yeah, you'd be able to just do a normal day of work, right? And you're not sick. And there wouldn't be a problem. I don't think you've had issues with that in the past. But now throw in all these variables and just be like, okay, now I cut back by some amount. So yeah, I think we really got to focus on this in the next couple sessions and just think, how can we adjust expectations so that it's fine for you to just take some time off? And so where do you feel this pressure is coming from to still work
Myself.
while you're sick?
It comes from myself for sure.
But like where in that? Do you feel like you're going to let people down? Do you think you have an obligation to do this? Is there a customer who's going to suffer as a result?
Well, so all my customers are internal, but
Mhm.
I feel like if there's the draftsmen are the people I support mostly. I feel like, sorry, if I'm not there to help them, they'll have a bad day. They'll be frustrated because something isn't working or whatever. And I'm like, I can save them that frustration if I just pick up the phone for like half an hour or whatnot.
Okay. Do you ever take like proper vacations where you're away for, 2 weeks or whatever?
Nope. You asked the question.
I know. I know. Oh, man. All right. Well, what I was gonna say is, if you ever took vacations, like, how do you feel then? But I think this is like we're really unraveling the Remy ball of yarn at this point.
So I get the opportunity where I can sell half my holidays yearly, and I do that most of the time because I don't take up my 35 holiday days I get every year.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I now understand the depth of going all in on everything.
I'm a workaholic and full throttle into everything.
Well, look, I think that's fine as long as it doesn't have any repercussions, but you're seeing consequences from this, right? Being a workaholic is okay, but feeling like you're at an all-time stressful high while being a workaholic is then a problem, because stress starts having physical manifestations at some point. You have heart problems, or I don't know, you get injured faster, or maybe getting sick as a result of this. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but it's not good to have stress for long amounts of time. And if your personality is such that you put yourself in these situations frequently, then you're the one who's going to have to change this from happening. It's not like work is just going to assign you less work in the future. So I think, like I said, this is going to become perhaps the most important focal point for the next few sessions, which is like, how do
Wow,
we
3 stars.
3 stars? Yeah,
Feels like GTA at this point.
yeah.
Can we go up to 5?
We are going to get the police to come to your
Choppers
house.
start coming in.
But yeah, we need to get to the point where you have varying expectations. There is a healthy Remy and there is an unhealthy Remy, and there is a like having to buy a house Remy, and these can all combine to, all right, the amount of real work I can do today is 4 hours instead of 8 or 12 or whatever you might think. So how do you think we could get to that stage? If I were to just open-ended question, ask you that.
I honestly don't know. It is like, this is something I've struggled with all my life, basically. Where I've always been like this, and I've tried changing this. I've tried, because like I also feel like a hypocrite doing it, because like if I hear a friend or a colleague say, he's like, "Oh, I'm stressed out about work," and I always tell them, "It's just work. Don't you worry about it." And then I know I'll be opening my laptop at like 2 a.m. because someone sent me a message asking for help.
Yeah.
So like it's something I am conscious about, and I try to change, but like I don't know how I am. Uh, and I know it's bad because I tell other people it's bad and not to do it, but then I do it myself.
Yeah, there's this pressure that I was asking about, where is this coming from? And you said it's internal. And then you said, well, what if I let people down? I think at some point, and maybe this is a little bit derivative, but there's some fear at the bottom of all of this. The fear of letting people down, the fear of not living up to your potential, the fear of what this might mean as a result of some action you take. And I think that unless we get to the bottom of that you'll probably still feel the need to do this. And yet at the same time, you recognize that if other people do this, no, it really is fine. It doesn't sound like you harbor resentment toward people, or that you, yeah, I don't see anything unhealthy with how you treat other people here. I just see something unhealthy with how you're treating yourself here. So, oh, all right, I'll have to think about this some more. You're no longer sick other than the residual coughing you have right now?
No, I'm fine otherwise.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, because I was gonna say that would be a good point where you could consider like, okay, maybe I should take whatever, a half day or something like that. Um, yeah, I'll have to think about this. Note to self: I have to think about this. All right, well, I also want you to keep this in mind, this whole 3 stars thing about cutting yourself slack, because the tenet system that I have, right? Where every week I look into, okay, if you had one tenet, I think it would literally just be cut myself slack, and bringing awareness to it, I think could be good. Maybe you have one tenet and just bring awareness to this, because this is generally how I go about solving problems like this: is start with just awareness. Maybe you get a baseline. Maybe you're trying to lose weight, so you, I don't know, count calories or something, or figure some amount of, here's a metric that I can look at, and then figure out what's going into this, what's causing this equation for you to be the way that it is. So yeah, I want us both to think about this. I want you to potentially actually do a retrospective of, in the last week, where did I not cut myself slack, and what were the repercussions? And I think repeatedly you'll find yourself, as long as you're in the situation you're in now, you will find easy ways of pointing out, oh, I worked a little too hard that day. Oh, I was sick and I picked up my laptop for an hour and did some work. And looking back, it'll be much more obvious to you. So I actually do want you to consider doing this. See where you haven't cut yourself slack. See what the repercussions were. And the repercussion, by the way, is pretty much always going to be, oh, I was more stressed. I don't think it's going to be, oh, a customer was actually let down, or, because that's another thing I didn't explicitly ask you, but you've presumably gotten some work delivered to you a day late or a week late or something, right? Yeah. And were you ever like, I can't believe this person, or, how did you react to that?
No, I always think like, was it important to me? No. So can I have waited an extra day? Yes.
Okay.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
And but like most of the thing, like I don't have a lot of things that people deliver to me. I'm pretty much always delivering to other people. Like, but unless like I'm waiting for some information, and like if they don't give it to me at some point, I'll be like, well, you're the one bothered by this. If you don't get my reply because I didn't get your info, that's on you.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, this is another one of those cases where you recognize for other people this is fine, and for yourself, you still have a desire to get people that information to the work. Okay. Yeah, let's think about this some more. Like I said, I do want you to at least consider this as a tenant and try the process I go through, where it's like, okay, look at just this one thing every week and say what went well, what went poorly. Let me see. I've got a couple more minutes. I wanna talk about this that you have here. So why don't you intro the context behind this question?
Yeah, so it's a bit more of an open question or discussion, whatever you want to call it. I feel like lately, I've given myself some thought, like, who am I right now? And I just feel like, in the past maybe year or so, I feel like I'm a completely different person. Uh, like how I look at the world, how I look at things, how I look at myself, just generally like some silly stuff as well, like, what kind of foods do I like? I feel like it's way different from like a couple of years ago, and like, how I think about stuff. And I was just like wondering, like, is this something you ever had where you're like at a point in your life and you're like, wow, like I'm such a different person from X time ago?
Yes, I do have this happen, and the way I always sum it up the most succinctly is, I used to be an idiot, and yet at every single point in my life, I've said this that I used to be an idiot. So
I expect that. Go on.
okay, here's what I really think about this is there are ways that I would say improved my mindset that I did not have years ago. So ways I would talk to people, ways I would think about things, judgments I would cast on people, those sorts of things where I think I wouldn't do this nowadays. And it makes me almost think like, how did I even get this through my head that this was a good idea way back then? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, a couple of reasons. One, you have the totality of the experiences that past you had plus more. So it's not like you've forgotten a bunch of memories from a while ago. Those are still informing your worldview, but then there have been other patterns that you've seen on top of that. And then the other thing that I kind of wrote here quickly is that I think we get into cycles of things. So there were times in my life where I thought, oh man, I'm really into whatever, playing piano music. And for 3 months I'd be practicing and practicing, and then something, almost the snap of a finger, would change and I would just stop for a year. And I think that's totally normal. I think it happens to us and it could be for any reason. So I don't think any of this is problematic. And yet, I think if you were to talk to your friends and say, hey, do I seem like a different Remy than I was a year or 5 years ago? They would probably not say that you're drastically different. I think it's more obvious with ourselves and how you think about things. And yeah, or do you feel like your friends would say
Yeah.
that you've
No,
changed?
no, probably not, because I'm
Yeah.
still an idiot towards them. Uh,
I'm not saying you're an idiot. I'm saying,
no, no, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, but I am an idiot towards them. I know that.
okay.
No, and I think it's a good thing. Like, I think, I've changed with it better, but I don't know. It just like at some point realization hit me, and I'm like, wow, like this Remy would be like 3 years ago. Remy would be like, no, that's not future me. That can't be him. And like for some reason, it became really apparent to me at some point, and I put some thought into it. It was like, do other people experience this? I don't know, coming to Nirvana moment where they're like, oh, I'm different.
Well, do you think
Hmm.
if you could travel back in a time machine to 3 years ago and talk to that Remy, that he would say, I don't like what you've become?
We'd have a fight. I'm pretty sure.
What do you think you would fight
But
about?
no, I think he would like where I am now. I do think that, even though some of our views would have like drastically changed.
Yeah. So current Remy believes that past Remy would approve of current Remy. And I think
Yeah.
that's the important part, right? I think the worst would be if you felt you were in a downward spiral somehow. Maybe you really took work seriously and now you're like, no, I don't ever want to work again. And whatever, you're sitting around playing video games all day or something. If past you would be like, oh, I disapprove of this, then okay, I think there's something to consider, which is have you strayed from some principles? Did you have a reason to do that? Was there a traumatic event that caused this? But I think this is really just what you're describing is growth. Like you are selling a house for the first time in your life. Like that's not something 3 years ago you would have thought about probably. And yet now it's just a reality for you. You're working, you have more decisions you can make in your life and paths you can open up. So yeah, I think this is just kind of being an adult and growing. And if you don't think anything's problematic, I would just say it's a fun thought. And
There's nothing problematic. Like I said, like just more of like a thought I had, and just wanted to
yeah.
discuss.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've gone actually maybe a tiny bit over here, but thank you for sharing all this stuff and for giving us some good discussion points. I cannot stress enough, though, this part about cut yourself some slack. So I am going to focus on this. It's got 3 stars for a reason. Any closing thoughts?
I'm only an attic goblin at this point, not a cave goblin with the amount of light.
That's true. Yeah. Although we did go from like white room to dark gray. So we're getting
Yeah.
there. Anyway, good to see you, Remy. Thanks for being here,
Yep.
and I'll see you
Thanks
next
for the
session.
session, Adam.
Yep,
Have a
bye.
great day.
All right, chat, you know the drill. Clap for Remy. Good job, Remy. It is very hard to be on this sort of setting, I think, or in this sort of setting. Let me go find Twitch chat. All right, I saw a little bit more activity during, just out of the corner of my eye. And so I do want to read through this at some point. I also want to get lunch. So I think I'm going to just copy paste this for now. Yeah. Wait, I have a shortcut for this. Yeah. Yeah, I like seeing the patterns in between mentees. And I touched on this at the beginning. At least two of the mentees have a mindset of like, just got to do the next thing, got to do the next thing. And I think that that mindset benefits you for a very large portion of your life in school and in beginning work. And then I think that can be a bit of a problem because at some point you've got to grapple between your career ambitions, your personal life ambitions, and then just the reality of like how much energy you have. And so, yeah, interesting to see how this plays out. I need to get lunch. Today is a tight schedule. So yeah, sorry. Normally I would stick around and I would have just read chat right now, but it's 12 and I have an obligation at 4 p.m. So that gives me exactly 1 hour for lunch and then 3 hours for post-lunch work. So what I'm going to do is, what's for lunch? What did I have? I made some pasta last night. I think I'm going to have, I have a video somewhere. I'll go make this public and I'll share it with chat. So the video that I'm going to launch right now is unavailable because I'm on the wrong account. Let's talk about... No. Let's not talk about anything. Shut up. Okay. It's about designing automated games. Public. Save, and let's share this with chat. So there's the video. I'll post on YouTube about this. Hopefully that actually was public. Let's see. Although it's probably going to be... Let's talk... Okay, cool. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching. I will be back in about an hour and we'll keep working on Skeleseller. I hope you have a good rest of your day if I don't see you. And then don't forget, tomorrow is not a stream. So it's going to be 3 more hours today and then Friday. So see you in a bit. Take care.